services. Whether or not that's held by the other party, we're not certain. No one knows.
They're not going to give him 5 years, are they? And that's what he's after.
Why should you?
Well, you can't balk now.
Yep.
Having held out and risked your whole season on 4, to blink now, would it not raise the prospect, well, why didn't you just get that done in the first half of the season when they were the terms? But equally, if Cloak signs now, I think there would be tremendous angst towards him for having done what he's done throughout the year. And that's why I think he's going. I think he's known for a long time that he's going. And the unfortunate aspect of the system is he's just had to wait. And he still has to wait until October 1 before he can declare anything.
And it's a rare player, a very, very rare player. I'm talking a Chris Judd, Buddy Franklin rare player that you'd give a 5-year contract to. And as good as Travis Cloak is, he is not a 5-year contract player. You don't expose your list and the amount of money over that period of time on one player unless it's absolutely rare commodity. Well, and Travis is a very good player, absolutely good player. But if I was Travis, I would have signed way early in the season for my 4 years and taken the $750 because that's a damn good contract.
I think Sam Reid is the only one, isn't it? I mean, he's a 20-year-old centre forward for Sydney, and he got 5 at the end of last year, and that is the most recent one that I'm aware of. Even 4 is too long, isn't it? And it's very rare that you would hear of that.
Okay, we'll focus in now on the preliminary finals set to unfold before us. The umpires first out onto the MCG, the banners as well. We'll get Mark McClure, Rod Jamieson and Chris Grant to pull it all apart ahead of the twilight start to this first preliminary final. The prize is a place in next week's grand final against the Swans. It's the Hawks and the Crows next on Grandstand AFL.
Pure footy. Pure footy. Pure footy. The AFL Final Series with ABC Grandstand. On radio, online and on digital radio. Grandstand AFL.
From 50 out, the goal is unattended and he fixes it. Oh, what a mark! He gets to the 50, he goes long, he goes very long, and he goes straight.
Off a step, curls it round, opens up the face and he breaks through for a goal.
He kicks around the body, the kick is terrific. It's all on the bounce and it's going to bounce through. Tight in the pocket, screws it around for a goal. Gets into the goal square and bounces it through. His kick from the angle is magnificent. This time from 45, this time in upper net. Hard on the boundary, hooks over the shoulder, works his way through and goal. It's all on the bounce, it bounces away from goal. Hand pass.
The AFL Final Series with ABC Grandstand. Coming to you live on ABC Local Radio and on ABC Grandstand Digital.
The Swans are the first team into the AFL Grand Final. Now to find out their opponents. Hawthorn and the Adelaide Crows about to do battle at the MCG. The Crows are first out onto the ground. It's a formidable challenge against the team that most believe is the standard bearer through 2012. On Grandstand AFL, it's the Hawks and the Crows ahead of us. Gerard Whateley and Drew Morford to call it for you. There is a change and a significant one at that. The Hawks skipper Luke Hodge is out through illness. Thomas Murphy takes his place. The subs, Savage and Johncock for the pair of teams. The Crows were as selected. Our experts this afternoon, this evening, in the twilight, Mark McClure, Rod Jamieson and Chris Grant. Sellers, get us away.
You couldn't be in a better spot at this moment. At the MCG in a spring afternoon and just gorgeous time slot. Adelaide, who have just been outstanding, come from 14th on the ladder to in the top 4 and have a chance to play in the last week in September. A really good effort from them, a great opportunity for their youth to actually experience a great day like this on the MCG. And they've got plenty in their defence. Luke Thompson down there, Ricky Henderson's down there, Andy Otten also. But Ben Rutten's a stalwart there. Brent Riley and Michael Doherty is the other three who are playing defence. And also you can put in Brodie Smith, may get a run down there at some stage as well. There's a few others, but they've got a big job ahead of them taking care of that forward line. Their midfield, they're really strong in the midfield. I like McKay, really do. And Scotty Thompson's a beauty. Bernie Vince, you can throw in Rory Sloane as well. He gets a run through there. Dangerfield's a star. And Van Berlo just continues to rack up possessions. They got a very solid midfield. They can handle the Hawthorn ones. Don't worry about that. Their forward line, dangerous as hell. Taylor Walker and Tippett. Tippett's ready to go. He should be up there and firing. And as they come out, the Hawks walk onto the ground. And the crowd should go all up as one as they do. Their forward line, Tippett and Walker, as we talked about. Paul Please is dangerous. Very dangerous. And Callanan, very much so as well. And Petrenko, strong young player, hard tackler. And they've got a good balance amongst their sides. And Sam Jacobs, probably the best ruckman in the competition. Not awarded a position in the All-Australian side, though. They have their opportunity to play next week. Everyone says they've got nothing to lose. Well, they've got everything to lose. Their opportunity is to play in a premiership side in a week's time and experience more of this stuff to get better at what they do. Well, let's go to the Hawks. Best side in the competition. Absolutely. No one undoubted in anyone's mind. So the odds would say that, and everyone around this place would say that. But that doesn't mean you win. That doesn't mean you get the cash in this business. They've got an incredibly good, reasonable defence. I think that's one of their real weaknesses. Sholomakers, Stratton and Gibson take the tools. Gibson likes to do the one over the top. Burgoyne's a really good runner. Suckling and Birchall are the great movers of the ball. They push it out of there and hit targets. They've got a great skill in that area. Their midfield's tough and strong, with Jordan Lewis and Brad Sewell in and unders. Sammy Mitchell as well. Liam Shields are there, and Hodges out. That's the spot that'll take over. Now also, you got Young as well in that area, who kicks the ball and kicks it beautifully. And that's what they need. They've got distributors and hard hitters, and that's what they have. Their forward line, well, is there any better in the competition? Roughhead, Franklin, Rioli, Gunston. Gunston's a star, ex-Adelaide player. Luke Bruce is something special, and Isaac Smith, and there's a couple of others who'll get a run there as well at some stage. Paul Piopolo, who's really tough and strong, got his nose smashed a couple of weeks ago. Brilliant football club. Actually in a good space. They are playing extremely well. Doesn't mean, if they lose this tonight, failure. They will lose the grand final. I believe it's a failure as well, because they are the best in the competition and it's their game to lose.
Well, it's going to be a ripper, Mark. It really is, and we're lucky enough to have Rod Jamieson here with us tonight. Watched Adelaide right throughout the course of this year really, really closely. And Rod, let's look at the matchups first. From a Hawthorn perspective, you think, how can the Adelaide Crows stop the scoring power up forward? And if you go through the Hawthorn forward line, Franklin's obviously the big one. We're led to believe through Dean Bailey just before in our pre-match that Thompson and Rutten will probably roll through that role. It depends on where Franklin may be. Can Rutten sustain the journey if he actually starts running around?
I'd have some real concern if he was going to play up the ground, which we believe he does a lot of the time. Rutten is going to be your player that's going to probably stand a Hale or is going to stand a Roughhead when you go deep. If he's up the ground, I think he'll be far too exposed. So I'm actually liking maybe they might roll a couple of players through him. But for me, I think Ricky Henderson is probably one that they might be able to go with. He just needs to be a body with him and get to a contest. He's going to have an impact on the game. It's just how great an impact or what restriction that you can apply to him.
So then that, of course, leaves Roughhead, doesn't it? It leaves Roughhead as that guy who will pinch hit in the ruck. He'll certainly play deep. He's a big body down there. But then they've got those smaller type players. And I guess Rioli's the other big one. He's the excitement machine down there. He can cause anything to happen. Will Dowdy go to him?
I think he has to. And just looking at the matchup, he's probably the only one that will. The other one might be a Brodie Smith, who is very quick, but he can run the lines and carry the lines, which is like a David McKay does from an Adelaide perspective. But with Graham Johncock named as the substitute, he's the one that Brenton Sanderson has played forward and also can go back to play a small in that role, and he might end up going back and standing either him or a Piopolo. And
of course, also in the forward 50 for Hawthorn over the course of this season, played a very big role for them, and that's Jack Gunston, the former Adelaide player. Has Otten come in for specifically that type of role, you think?
I think so. I think if it was Sam Shaw, he would have probably got that role as well. It just makes sense that he's such a strong leader. From an Adelaide perspective, they know a little bit about Jack Gunston and what he's done, and the contribution he's made to Hawthorn this year has been significant too. He stands up, he leads, and his kicking has been exceptional.
And we'll go to the other end of the ground, the power forward or the power two forwards, if you like, but certainly one who's had a terrific year. and that's Taylor Walker. Does Gibson go to him? Has he got the ability in the air to actually stay with him?
I think it'll be a real tactical ploy by Adelaide. You don't want to curtail what Taylor Walker has done and provided for Adelaide. He does run up the ground. He'll be that short go-to option, but he'll also run wide to the wings too. And I think one of the dangers from a Josh Gibson perspective, if he doesn't go with him and he sits back to try and be that third man up or to fill a hole, 60 metres out from goal, Taylor Walker is exceptionally dangerous.
Tippett's the other one, isn't it? His form hasn't been great since he's come back into the side with those head knocks. You get the feeling that Schoenmaker's been the up-and-coming sort of key big body player will fall into that job.
Yeah, and for Adelaide to win today, he needs to stand up. He has to stand up and clunk some marks. We know he's at his best when he runs at the football. He needs to clunk some marks and kick some goals. They will rely on him to go into the ruck to assist Sam Jacobs too. Sam's changed the way he plays this year, and it's been significant. He makes an impact in the middle of the ground and around the ground, but he thinks now, and he's smart where he runs to go to as a player, as an option for that third tall, but he doesn't get in the way of a Walker or a Tippett.
Both these teams have very, very good midfielders, and Sam Mitchell, how he never got an All-Australian berth, we'll never know. He just had a absolutely sensational. He's the generator for them. He's the guy that gets inside. Will the skipper for Adelaide go to him?
Oh, look, I think for mine, I think the impact that maybe a Brad Sewell has on the game, and I guess his hardball gets, his tackling and his inside 50s is a real concern. I'm not suggesting for 1 minute that Sam Mitchell doesn't provide that, but I think if you're going to go, maybe Scott Thompson and Mitchell might go head-to-head, and maybe at the end of the day you go, right, they might nullify each other, and hopefully one doesn't have a greater impact than the other. But I think Brad Sewell is one that they really need to try and shut down.
Well, before the two teams come across to stand for the national anthem, there's two players probably almost the game's going to be won or lost here. Sam Jacobs in the ruck and Patrick Dangerfield in the middle of the ground. His ability to be able to win those contested football, it is extraordinary, but on the outside, he's so damaging.
Oh, look, when you watch Patrick Dangerfield too, I guess he got heavily tagged against Fremantle. He was able to run a little bit freer against Sydney and had that impact too. And I think when they last met in round 3, he had nearly 30 possessions in that game and had a real impact. He is a player that just lifts Adelaide when they are down to be able to say, come on, blokes, get behind me and let's go.
Just before they come over for the national anthem, great that the AFL is recognising our Paralympians just back from the Paralympic Games in London. And they showed some highlights up on the screen, and there's about 30 of them on the boundary line down here in front of us. Well done to our Paralympians. They did us proud over in London.
So the two teams heading now over to the members' wing where the formalities will be observed. The umpires first into position, Chris Donlan, Matthew Nichols and Shane McInerney handed this first preliminary final at the MCG. Let's head down to ground level and join the AFL's Master of Ceremonies. Craig Willis is in position as the crowd around the G rises.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, the Australian Football League and Premier Partner Toyota welcome you to the first preliminary final here at the MCG. Would you now please join with the coaches, players and umpires and the Australian Paralympic team as we stand for the Australian National Anthem.
Predominantly Hawthorn crowd with good pockets of Adelaide support. In the twilight here at the MCG, the Hawks and the Crows, the last of the warm-ups, and then we're into it.
Well, it is a twilight game, but the sun is shining brilliantly. The lights are on at the MCG, and the people at the punt road end can't wait for the sun to go down because they can't see a thing.
Kelly Underwood's in the front row for us. Kel?
19 degrees, perfect spring day. The scene is set, Jared. A real buzz around the ground. As you mentioned, the Hawks late change. Hodge is out. The club says it's Gastro. He's the toughest man in footy. Hard to believe that Gastro would keep him out of a prelim. Certainly some suspicions raised. Has that knee injury flared? Questions will be asked, you would think, after this match. In comes Murphy. Jordan Lewis, the acting captain, making his way to the centre of the ground at the moment. The bench for the Hawks will be Shields, Ellis, Suckling. The sub is Shane Savage. The Crows are selected. The bench will be McKay, Petrenko, Henderson. The sub is John Cock for the second straight week. Just quickly been down under the MCG near the rooms. Two completely different vibe. The Hawks players signing autographs in the race. They were mingling with fans. They were relaxed. They were jovial. The Crows all game face. Their headphones on. No interaction with the media or the fans. They look nervous.
Toss of the coin. Jordan Lewis filling in as captain here for the Hawks tonight, and he's won the toss for Hawthorn, and they will go towards the city end in the first quarter.
So what's it to be, Mark McClure?
They look nervous, Adelaide, and they should be. I think Hawthorn will win quite comfortably.
Rod Jamieson?
Oh, I'm really sitting. I'm optimistic, Jared. I don't want to sound like I'm supporting, but I give Adelaide a chance if they play well.
So you are.
I'll go Adelaide.
Chris Grant.
Yes, the Hawks, good luck stopping them kicking 18 goals plus. I guess if there's a side that can do it, this is one. But, gee, 18 goals plus is a big score.
Drew Morford.
I'll have to go for the Hawks.
Yeah, I might well have fallen into the trap of preliminary finals past of just assuming, but I think the Hawks will win this by a mile.
Just it's worth recounting that they both finished level, 17 wins, 5 losses. Hawthorn, by virtue of being the highest scoring team in the competition, the Crows the second highest. The Hawks with a percentage of 154 and the Crows 132. So there's not the nullarbor playing between them.
We'll know in 2 hours. We'll know in 2 hours. The prize is a place in next week's grand final against the Sydney Swans. Hawthorn and Adelaide set to do battle at the MCG in the first preliminary final. Let's find out on Grandstand AFL at the MCG in the first preliminary final. Let's find out on Grandstand AFL. You're with Drew Morford.
As the clock on the scoreboard counts down, we're up to 17 seconds, but the umpire holds the ball aloft. He's ready to go. The players are ready to go. But we'll wait for the countdown. We're in the last 10 seconds. Dangerfield in the middle for the Crows. Right for Adelaide. There goes the bounce. Jacobs wins another hit out. He's the leading hit out ruckman in the competition this year. He gets it down to Vince, who's caught in the tackle by Rioli, and the umpire says no prior. Give it to me. I'll ball it up again. It's gone slightly Adelaide's way from the circles. Here's another bounce. Roughhead goes up for Hawthorn, sharked by Vince. His kick goes nowhere. It spills out to Sammy Mitchell, who kicks out towards the logo on centre wing broadcast side. Puopolo leads the race. The little bloke with his legs pumping gets there first. Doughty claims him. Spills Hawthorn's way. Comes to Sewell. And now to Mitchell. Cornered near the boundary line by Henderson. His kick bumbles up towards half forward. Gunston against his old team appeared to throw that ball out. It comes out, and Thompson for Adelaide with a short pass, chopped off by Sewell. He kicks inside the 50, and on the charge is Roughhead to take the mark about 49 metres from goal.
Sammy Mitchell, 2 possessions, real quick ones early, and a couple here in front of us. 3 I think he's had already in the first minute and a half, so he's a star.
Doesn't need much space, does he?
Roughhead, he's about 15 metres in from the boundary line. Kicking to the city end from 50 metres. Starts left, straight as an arrow, stays left. Through for a minor score. First score of the game.
Well, Rutten went to Franklin. Taylor Walker, looks like Sean Makers has gone there. Gibson to tip it.
Riley's on the kick in. False starts out to the right. He's watched it all dry up. He's going to have to go the long ball outside the defensive area. Jacobs and Tippett set themselves, and Tippett is able to take the mark. He's all the way down at the defensive 50, but he gets an early touch. He'll work his way into a game. Kicks around the members' wing. It's a shocker. He's picked out Gibson. And Walker had no chance of arriving, but he did make some contact with Gibson, which stung the Hawk. Feeds it out the back to Mitchell. Wide kick to Lewis. Took it on the boundary. Walked a good couple of steps into the field of play and lofts it up to half forward. Gunster's in the wrestle. He couldn't mark. Smith is dispossessed against the boundary. He was taken high. So it's a free kick for Brodie Smith. Kelly Underwood.
Hurt his right shoulder in that contest, Gerard, but he's told the doctors, go back to the bench, I'm staying out here, but he's certainly carrying it, favouring it.
Smith for the Crows with a kick towards centre wing. Fist of the ball by Stratton, but it comes behind. Now Gibson for Hawthorn. His hand pass chopped off by Douglas. His kick goes nowhere. Gibson is there. Fires a little hand pass away and Birchall gets into space with a run. Up he goes to Sewell through the middle to Lewis. The hand pass missed Mitchell, but he runs onto it. A further hand pass, centre half forward. Hale on. And here's the defender Birchall, who kept on coming, and he gets his second possession in the chain but misses with a shot from about 35 metres out. The Hawks 2 behinds. Crows yet to score.
Adelaide just struggling to get it past their half-forward line at the moment. They've tried a couple of times too, but Hawthorn coming back through the middle of the ground with plenty of run.
Riley in for Scott Thompson, off to Dangerfield, who decides to tuck it under the arm and run to the defensive 50 and kick for Tippett again. Once more he's able to take the mark in the defensive half. Onto the right boot. He's got in the Petrenko direction, playing from behind. He used the body illegally. And he leant into his man and gave away the free kick. Stratton rises with the footy. Short for Suckling. Came from the interchange bench. The orange laces on his boot. He fires it off to Lewis. He's been called to play on. Drops it to the left boot. Rioli's the target. It was set the task. Smith brought it down. Rioli got hold of it though. He feeds it on to Bruce. Showed them the footy. Sidestep. Worked it on now. From the 50, Isaac Smith to the teeth of goal. Roughhead came out. Bounced off his hands. Worked the hand pass to Young and he snaps a further behind. The Hawks have unloaded with 3 behinds early in 4 minutes. They're all over the Crows, but not much to show for it.
Ruffy thought he was going to get heavy contact and just couldn't control it.
The inside 50s are 3-0. It's all being played on Hawthorn's forward line, and they are still goalless. This little 10 minutes of football could cost you in the end if they dominate but don't score. Adelaide bring the ball out with a bit of system, and Rutten takes the mark from Doughty's kick. Rutten kicks out towards the Great Southern stand side. Well delivered. Wright takes the mark. Half-back flank. Fires out the hand pass. Riley's kick towards centre wing. It's punched to the front. Comes to Van Berlo. He's ripped off his kick. And Gibson's there to gather. Burgoyne. He gets the hand pass in. Young, a long kick. Franklin, one out. The kick missed him and runs away from him and beats him out of bounds in the forward pocket. Rutten was caught metres behind, but that ball just kept on bouncing end on end, and we get a throw in.
Hale trotting down with Jacobs to contest in the ruck. They both get a fingertip to it, knock it down to the front. Sloane had the hand pass under duress out toward the boundary. Dangerfield couldn't gather, and it goes out of play.
Already seen early too when Hawthorn come back through the middle of the ground. Adelaide are struggling to combat the runners. It's just they haven't used the footy as well as they had, and they've let Adelaide off the hook.
Ruckman together again. Jacobs went defensively. Kicked out of there. Didn't go very far by Brodie Smith. It's tipped up and down on the spot. Rioli ferrets it out. Hand pass to Sewell. Kick to full forward. Mark almost taken by Lewis. He spilt it at the top of the square. Otten is onto it for the Crows. Hand pass to Van Berlo and back to Otten and now to Riley. Here's some run at last. It's taken 6 minutes to spark, but Riley is coming out of half-back unimpeded. A couple of bounces. His kick's a beauty. Walker gets it. Feeds it onto Petrenko. Kick inside the 50 and Tippett on the lead. Takes the mark.
Super play by the Crows. Really good play. Riley runs it out of there and just spots up 3 or 4 good passes. That's the first time they've actually used the ball. First time they actually used it. And they've used it extremely well.
There's the example of Taylor Walker we're talking to. He's actually been that lead-up player, and Gibson decided to drop back, and they went to him and being able to get it on to Tippett very quickly.
Third mark for Tippett as well. Good start.
Kurt Tippett has put himself in the game. And now he could be the first to register a major. He's on the 45-degree angle right of centre. And against everything that has happened, Tippett fires a goal and the Crows have a behind. It just hangs right. It's 3 behinds to 1 behind. 7 minutes gone.
Wasted opportunity there as well. Suckling to kick in. There's no Guerra, of course, and he does most of the kick-ins when he's about the place. Kick by Suckling, well outside the 50. Punch forward by Otten, and he gets the boundary line. And it stays at half forward for the Crows. Otten close enough to the interchange, so off he comes. Took them a while to get inside 50. 6 minutes, the Crows. Here's the throw in on their half forward flank. Comes to the front, a sprint after the ball. And the ball's out of play. There's a bit of rough stuff just over the boundary line, but the umpire says, give it to the boundary umpire, let him throw it in again. The Hawks 3 behinds, the Crows 1 behind. Here we go again. Jacobs works to the front and wins it. Comes down to Vince, who's bowled over with a push in the back. Free kick to Bernie Vince, about 70 metres from goal.
Big game player, Bernie Vince, and a thumping kick.
He kicks, looking for Tippett, who's marking everything, and he's taken another one. Boy, what an influence he's had. 4 marks in the opening 8 minutes.
Well, they let him run around up centre half forward for a while. He went right up amongst the wing, took 2 or 3 marks. Now he's gone back inside 50. He's doing exactly the same. Getting a touch of the ball really helps.
So that first 5 minutes of attack by Hawthorn, which came to nothing, gee, they might pay dearly for that. If Tippett can kick the first goal of the game, approaching the 9-minute mark. His distance is only about 25-30 metres. The drop punt is good, and the Crows get the first goal and have hit the front. They lead 1-1 to 3 behinds.
Ripping start, Jamo. Really good confidence booster for him. 4 marks, and he looks very, very imposing. This is the question, isn't it? I've been asking this question the best part of 2 years with the Hawthorn side. They are exposed where Sean Maker is. He's a good kid. He might be a good kid. But when he's in a one-on-one contest, this is a huge game, and he's playing against a huge man. He's not in good form. It hasn't come into this game in good form. But you get against Sean Makers, you're a chance. All of a sudden, his stocks have risen already.
You need a big touch, don't you, early, just to get into the game. And Adelaide have been able to manufacture that with the roll. He's come up, he's taken some marks, he's pushed back deep too. Taylor Walker's pushed back as opposed to just being that defensive post sitting in the square.
And he's gone into the ruck, although Roughhead beats him. Works the hand pass to Lewis. She gives 30 metres. It's a loose ball. It's inside the Crows 50. Paul Pleasure was tough. Wins it away. Scott Thompson feeds it around. Henderson on the swing. It's a true boot. And the Crows string a couple together. After 10 minutes, they lead by 10 points.
Just really settled down. A clearance that we know is so important and so vital. I guess the opportunity at the end to be able to score very quickly. We've seen that happen there too. For Pleasure, we know he's had some shoulder problems, but his attack on the football was tremendous. With that came the spillage of the football out to Ricky Henderson, who can play at both ends of the ground.
Well, the people who made the trip over from Adelaide to see the Crows in an away final got something to cheer about now early in the game. Crows lead by 10 points. Magnificent conditions at the MCG. The bounce in the middle, and Tippett's gone into the ruck, and he's killing them there as well. Poor Pleasure penetrates the 50. But good defensive mark. It's taken by Stratton. Comes out wide. Virtual marks. Pokes out a short pass where Lewis marks, still at half-back. He gets it back inside the corridor where they found a bit of space. Young takes the mark. Now across to the southern stand side. And they're off and running now, the Hawks. Stratton takes the mark. Suckling rather. He's bowled over after he kicks the ball. And the umpire McInerney comes in and is paying the free kick back to Suckling near the front edge of the square. He goes by hand to Young, who can kick it a mile from outside 50. He's kicked it a mile. Hawks first goal. They're 1-3, Adelaide 2 goals 1.
No, it's a great start by the Crows, but that was what the Hawks need. They need to be challenged. We need to find out how good they are, and the reply was a terrific one. All of a sudden they move the ball and they get in those left footers, Suckling's hands, Young's hands, all the ones who can really bang it long, and Young just proved his wealth. just outside 50, 60 metres out, banged it well over the line. This is going to be a very good game. There's a lot of movement at this moment. There's a lot of space. They're moving the ball well, and it's going to be a highly skilled game. I'm looking forward to it. But they've shaken up the Hawks, and we'll see what happens.
Kelly Underwood.
12 minutes in, Jared. Kurt Tippett's just come to the bench for his first breather, so Taylor Walker's on inside 50, and Tippett dominating with a couple of contested marks.
It's been tremendous early. Rioli tries to win a ball away in the middle, and he does. The clearance up to the 50. Puopolo pats it down, and Bruce almost got through. Terrific tackle by Rutten, who stopped him cold. Sloan gathers and kicks out to the members' wing. Sewell is in a duel here with Wright, and together they run over the boundary. Birchall gets there for a little bit on Wright in the aftermath of it.
Ben Rutten's known as the truck, and he just stopped him fair and square in his tracks, didn't he?
That was a head-on. Jacobs puts it under the pack, but it's all Hawthorn. Isaac Smith, tremendous creative hand pass off to Young, sidesteps, kicks to full forward. Franklin from behind, Rutten in front, brought it to ground. Bruce, no truck in front of him this time. He rolls it at goal across the face and through Faber Hines. Down by 3.
Gee, it's open for a final, Jared. A lot of open football and gets into space. Just the pace of both teams, really good to watch.
Riley now with the task of bringing it in for the Crows. Adelaide leading 13-10. Riley well outside the 50, looking for Walker, but Hale is there for the Hawks and takes the mark. Little hand pass to Young, and why not? Kick smothered by Sloan. It's back inside the centre square, gathered by Sloan off the ground. He goes for a little short pass, chopped off by Murphy for the Hawks. Murphy hand passes and gets it back. Then fires one out to Hale. He kicks to the 50. Franklin up, juggles and marks. 60 from goal, Buddy. He goes long to the City goals. And juggled attempt for a mark on the behind line. The ball got over the boundary line alongside the behind post, and we have a throw-in. Adelaide 2-1. Lead Hawthorn 1-4. We've played 14 minutes.
Deep forward for the Hawks. Hale in front. Knocked it down goal side. Rioli had a deft touch. Puopolo couldn't find a teammate. Wright got hold of it for the Crows. They'll work the kick on the way out. Luke Thompson. He squared it off well, and Callanan at the defensive 50. The umpire wants a bit of the interference removed. Callanan sideways to Doughty. Off to Otten, still at the defensive 50. They'll come through the corridor now with a kick for McKay. He's got the outrider working on the southern wing. It's a lovely weighted ball. Smith gets hold of it, but he's smothered on the way through and worked off it. It goes over the boundary. Bruce with stirring defensive work to make sure that didn't result in an inside 50.
Gee, Bruce has been very lively. He's been fantastic. Scott Thompson wins the hit out. There was no ruckman there, and he gets the hand pass back, but turns it over. Here's Bruce again. He works it across to Mitchell, up to Sewell, who swivels the hips and slings out a magnificent hand pass to Isaac Smith. Off to Hale. Through the corridor they go. Up to Rioli, who flicks a man, gets inside 50, short passes. It just carries the journey, or did it? No, it was a bump ball. Mark not paid. Ellis dived in. Rioli looked a certainty to be going for goal. Did the team thing, but just didn't give it enough. And the mark not paid to Xavier Ellis. It's a ball up, 35 metres from goal. Jacobs wins easily. Down to Thompson, hand pass to Doughty. Close to the boundary line, southern stand side. Brodie Smith there, beaten by Bruce. He going well. Gets the hand pass to Mitchell. Perfect pass. Sensational pass. Shields marks and gets bowled over. 50, and this will be a goal to the Hawks.
What a kick that was. Left foot, 30 metres, went about 15 inches off the ground the whole way and hit him right in the belly. Great kick.
So from the goal square, Liam Shields gets the goal for the Hawks, and they regain the lead. 2-4 to 2-1.
Adelaide doing a lot of work, weren't they, too? They had a great opportunity out the other side there. They just couldn't get the kick into that 50. They had Rory Sloan all on his own. It was a great smother by Luke Bruce, and he's been so dangerous, not only around the ground, but certainly his ability up forward to be able to provide a scoring option to them.
Rod Jamieson on Grandstand AFL with Mark McClure and Chris Grants. The Hawks by 3 points over Adelaide. So we tick toward the 17-minute mark of this opening term. Hale and Jacobs stare at each other across the centre and go to work. Hale puts it to the side of the pack. Lewis gets hold of it. His teammate Isaac Smith went over the top of him, left him there to be tackled, but he was tackled high by Scott Thompson. Lewis used it instantly. Off to Mitchell, up inside the 50. Roughheads the target. Luke Thompson makes the spoil. Puopolo at the drop. He feeds it out the back. The kick from Gunston into the pocket. Ellis playing from behind. Paddles it down. Hand pass to Roughhead, who fumbles against the boundary. And it's over that line to be thrown in.
They've got to hold on here, Adelaide. 13-4 inside 50s. Just a wave of forward attack.
Left forward pocket for the Hawks. Hale puts it down in front, but Sloan is onto it. The Crows combine. Rutten gave it straight up to Sewell, who snaps out of the pack, but there was no direction to it. All the way across the face of goal and out on the full.
Got out of jail, Adelaide, then too. Just 3 quick handballs, and the last one needed to be a kick, and the handball went straight to the Hawks. His decision-making this year has been questionable. He played an outstanding game last week against Matthew Pavlich.
Kick by McKay inside. Comes down to Tippett, who started really well. Somehow gets it on the boot. What a kick that was. And Wright takes the mark. Perfect pass to the middle of the ground. Walker near the circles. He puts it beautifully out in front of Sloan, who runs onto it. He'll get to 50 and go for goal. Sloan gets a beautiful goal. This is fantastic football. Supposedly a hotly contested final, but the Crows are 3-1 to 2-4.
Well, if anyone thought Tippett was out of form, they better think again. Been special this quarter. Outstanding. Good marks. Good fight in the contest. Just got his foot to the ball. Get it forward. That's what happens in finals. You just get it there. All of a sudden, goes to Walker. Sloan's on the end, who's a star. And there was no doubt once he got it in his hands, that was going to go through the goals. But well worked by Tippett, who was strong in the contest at halfback.
And only 5 inside 50s for the Adelaide Crows, 3 goals.
The Clarks will be disappointed with the return that Hawthorn have got at the moment for the amount of work and inside 50s they've had.
Crows by 3. Hale wins the tap in the middle. He wants Mitchell, runs onto it, gets it off quickly to Shields, who's dumped in the tackle. Lewis trying to step himself clear and does. Onto the left boot. It rolls out to half forward. Young. He's got Van Berlo for company. Young plays for the boundary. It gets all the way there. I'll toss it in. Left half forward for the Hawks. Ruckman shoulder to shoulder. Hale puts himself in front. Jacobs, though, wins the tap. Down to Vince. Kick up to halfway. Stratton is intercepting for the Hawks. Backs away to assess what's on offer.
Goes the short pass to Isaac Smith. High ball. Unlike Hawthorn, really, that delivery. Otten had hands to the ball but couldn't take the mark. Now he becomes the tackler and gouges the ball out. Gets a little hand pass away. Riley is caught up in a stack of players, taken to ground. The umpire is going to bounce it. Inside the 50. It's about 35, 40 metres from goal. Hawthorn, another inside 50 for them. It's 13-5 inside 50s, but they trail on the scoreboard by 3 points. Here's the bounce. Hale wins the tap. It comes to Sewell, who's taken over the boundary line, unceremoniously dumped. A throw-in.
From an Adelaide perspective, Drew, you called it. They're actually doing something that maybe they haven't done to this point. They're going long and deep without being so precise, Hawthorn.
Hale wins the tap. Sloan sharks it, though. Plucked off the ground by Doughty, and he's ridden into the ground, so we'll get a ball up 40 from goal. This is Hawthorn in attack, which is where they've been for most of the game, and yet they trail on the scoreboard.
So a period in lockdown after some pretty open stuff. At the bounce. Jacobs positions himself well. He knocked it down. Dangerfield fumbled. Rutten getting through the pack. Releases it to Douglas. Kicks it forward without any great penetration. Henderson wrestled, tried to open the way for Walker. He fumbled. Working against him hard and well is Stratton. He bounces it around the boundary. Young had a fumble. By the time he got it, Otten had hold of him. He releases it for Isaac Smith. Didn't find a teammate. Walker tries to release it. Henderson's down. I'm not sure he ever had it. Ball in the skirmish. Walker out to Dangerfield. Hand passes for the boundary. And that's will open play up at least with a throw in. Left half forward for the Hawks. They're down by 3.
That's a bit more like it. That was real tough finals footy in there. At the throw in, Jacobs wins another hit. Works the ball down to Vince. Kick not much distance. Douglas the hand pass and they're through the middle. It comes out to Sloan in the open. He kicks to full forward. They're outnumbered 2-1 here, Adelaide. So Tippett had no hope. And it's gathered in defence for the Hawks and cleared by Murphy with a delightful kick. Rioli marks near the boundary line, halfback flank. The pass by foot is terrific. Into Gibson. Hand pass on. Burgoyne kicks towards the 50. It bounces up for Franklin. But the whistle's gone. There was an illegal shepherd. And the free kick is going to Brent Riley of the Adelaide Crows, just as Franklin was getting the pill for about the first or second time.
Riley's kick needed to be precise. Scott Thompson picked it up off the turf. Yeah, it was paid as a mark. He's got Douglas working for him forward of the middle. Shoots the hand pass off now to Doughty. Up to half forward. Poor kick. Walkout got half volleyed by it. Gathered by Stratton of the Hawks. Gives it off to Sewell. They mount the counter attack. They put it through Young. And now on to Suckling. Kick up to Isaac Smith. Sweeping hand pass. 35 metres to Roughhead. Now to Franklin. He tees it up and he drives it behind. Oh, once the Crows lost it, they never saw it again. But the Hawks don't cash in and still trail. It's 2 points.
Kick into Port Pleasure. Up to Scott Thompson at centre half back. He gets it back after the hand pass from Callaghan. Thompson gets it back in the middle of the ground for the third time. This hand pass goes to the other Thompson. It's Luke Thompson. Puts it out to the wing and it's delivered by Rutten, who's well up the ground. And the mark's taken by Henderson wide out. He kicks to the goal square. Tippett again. Takes the mark near the behind post.
Well, Chris has said it once before. Shovelmakers is not really good one-on-one.
They can play a bloke into form.
Unfortunately, he's the only one they've got down there who can play on the tools. And he and Gibson and Stratton are the only three. And sometimes they need to jig it around a bit, make certain they get the right ones.
What a start Tippett has made. 5 marks in the opening 24 minutes of the game. Tight angle, goes the banana and kicks the goal. He's second. Did you think this was going to be a cakewalk? Not on your Nelly. It's Adelaide 4-1 leading Hawthorn 2-5.
Well, they've got plenty of opportunities up forward, Hawthorn. I guess in a lot of ways, if they were kicking straighter, the scoreboard wouldn't read the way that it is at the moment. But the efficiency of Adelaide inside 50, and of course the big concern is Kirk Tippett. He just looks like he's out of control at the moment. I guess in a lot of ways you think about Taylor Walker, the go-to man, riding high on confidence after last week's game. Well, all of a sudden there's a little chink in the armour, and it's Ryan Showermakers, and he's just played Kirk Tippett into form.
Crows by 8, bounced in the middle. Roughhead got his hand to it. Scott Thompson took the footy but lost it. Lewis for the Hawks. They'll break forward. Bruce puts it out in front of Shields. Takes it on the bounce. Chips over the top. Young with Riley bearing down. Riley made the spoil quite fairly. He needs support. Port Pleasure got in to help him. Riley to Rutten. Sweeping hand past Van Burlo, who knocked it on to Port Pleasure. Up the line they go. Good stuff. Smith got it to right. Kick beyond halfway. Whistle on the play. Now, there's umpire intervention going on somewhere here.
Might have been out of bounds way back at half back.
Oh, really?
I think that maybe is the call. Gee, that was brilliant play by the Crows. They did run out of room, as it turned out.
Some sort of free kick.
Gone to Bruce against Van Burlo. Not sure.
Okay, so at left half forward, the Hawks inside the 50. Tippett is working down there as well to keep it away from Franklin. Franklin is threatening. He's paddling. Rutten shuts him down. They go to ground together. Pack forms. Sloan releases it. It's a chancy ball. Scott Thompson had to be brave, but he hasn't got it. And Rioli's coming through. Showed him the ball. Straightened and missed. Even he is afflicted by it. 2-6 the Hawks to 4-1. It's the Crows by 7.
Gee, if you want an outsider to win a game of football, the favourites need to waste their chances, and that's exactly what's happening here at the moment. The Hawks 2-6 to 4-1. Here come the Crows again, and they're playing the corridor, and it's gone to the back edge of the centre square where Dangerfield's taken a mark. He was upended, and the Crows fans wanted 50. Dangerfield hesitates and then tries to deliver it. Not really well done because he delivered it to a contest. Suckling gathers for Hawthorn. Up to Rioli, who's clean bowled by a half volley. He flips it into Puopolo just inside the 50. One way, then the other. The hand pass back to Shields, who goes for the pass. Well delivered, but Gunston couldn't take the mark. It comes the way of the Crows. Douglas gets the hand pass to Scott Thompson. His kick is beautifully smothered. Murphy, well done. Late inclusion for Hodge. Murphy's kick up the ground. Gunston gathers, hand pass to Shields. He kicks short of the goal square. It's not well delivered. And Otten takes the mark in defence for Adelaide.
Otten wants to go quickly because Wright is the outrider. He takes it on the bounce, clearing the defensive 50. He's trapped now with Lewis bearing down. He'll have to kick it as far as he can. It's a poor kick. Gibson will arrive. He dropped the mark. The Hawks have got a little bit of work to do. Paddled out the back to Burgoyne. Sidestepped out of trouble. Measures it off to Bruce on centre wing. Coming past him was Burchell. Handpass didn't find him. Wright did. He wrapped him up. Still got it though. Back to Bruce and on to Young and now to full forward. Puopolo positioned. It cleared him. Gunston dropped the mark and his hand pass was smothered by Luke Thompson. It's out of play, 25 from the goal front.
19 inside 50s, the Hawthorn team.
It's in the big stage. It's got them at the minute, haven't they? There's a lot of fumbling from Hawthorn. Adelaide aren't capitalising as much as they could.
Yeah, 19-8, Granty. This ball is knocked down to Smith of Adelaide, who kicks to the 50. A terrific punch put on by Lewis, who came from behind and gained about 20 metres with that, and the ball's gone out of bounds. It's 19-8, the inside 50s. Possessions are 99-86. And they're struggling. Poor Pleasure gets a tough ball out of there and delivers a beautiful lace-out pass. And here's Walker marking at half-back. Across the ground he comes with a delivery to Henderson, who marks. And their systems and plans are working a treat here, Adelaide. He comes further wide where the mark is taken by Vince. Forward of the logo, centre wing. Crows lead 25-18. 28.5 minutes played first quarter. Vince is going to kick this ball backwards into the centre square where Riley takes the mark. Riley advances the ball, sets it up a bit high. Lewis comes from behind with the spoil, but the ball gets behind him. Ball comes to right of Adelaide. An underground kick, not good. Callanan dives in, the little fella. Gets the hand pass away. Van Berlo, the hand pass back. And this pass by Adelaide comes inside the 50. Suckling's dragged down by Petrenko, whose shoulder looked okay there. Whistle's gone though, and it's going to be Hawthorn free kick.
So Stratton, virtually out of full-back, goes for Gibson and finds him inside the last minute of this opening term. Short ball for Shields. Up over the top for Burgoyne with a hand pass. And Burgoyne can run out of half-back. He's had a couple of bounces to reach halfway. He'll put it onto the right boot and send it too wide for Franklin. Rutten works him over and the ball goes out of play.
Adelaide have missed two occasions, Jared, when they have to go on inside 50 with a better kick, and it's missed their teammates where they could have had a shot on goal both occasions.
They lead by 7. Hawthorn with a late chance here from the throw-in. Rutten loses it. Franklin has it. Hand pass to Puopolo. Pats it wide of the pack. Gunston against the boundary. He snaps across the face. Ellis goes with the flight, but it's got too much on it. And it drifts away and out of bounds on the full. Kelly Underwood.
Sanderson's down here on the bench, Jared. He's very animated. The hands pointing left, right, all over the place.
Close to quarter time. And the free kick by Riley for the Crows. Over half-back. Massive pack gathers. Taylor Walker in the middle. And the ball over the boundary line. And that's just about going to be the action for the first quarter. Well, who would have thought it? The way the Hawks started dominating the inside 50s and wasting opportunities. It's 8 scoring shots to 5. But they trail here, Hawthorn. Terrific first quarter by the Crows, who lead 4-1-25 to Hawthorn 2-6-18. And the visitors, with that sort of a start, can take the crowd, which is absolutely biased towards Hawthorn in numbers, and they've been silenced a little bit, the way that things have happened here. The goals for the Crows in the first quarter. Tippett, absolutely magnificent. Marked everything. Kicked 2 goals. Singles for Sloan and Henderson, and for Hawthorn, their goals coming from Young and Shields. And at quarter time, Adelaide 4-1-25, lead by 7 points. Hawthorn 2-6-18.
This is Grandstand AFL on ABC Local Radio, News Radio and Grandstand Digital.
Kurt Tippett for me is the one that has really changed the way in his form. He's a roll, he's up at it, he's kicked 2 goals, and which is allowing Walker to go forward and or back.
Into the second term on Grandstand AFL. It's Adelaide by 7 points at the centre bounce. Jacobs was well favoured by it. He didn't waste it down to Dangerfield. They'll go up to the 50. Knocked away, though, for the Hawks by Suckling. It came underfoot. Scott Thompson was dispossessed and he threw it.
He's a champ, this bloke,
Rioli.
in the tackle.
He was on the spot and he rises to give it off to Burchell. Has it bounced across halfway. Gunston's just come from the bench. The hand pass went wide to him, but he stumbled and lost the momentum. Back to Birchall. High inside the 50. They set themselves underneath. Isaac Smith went to spoil. Lewis creating the hand pass, get it back into play. Luke Thompson dispossessed. Gunston's hand pass was no good. Crows get a second look. Lewis hits hard from behind. Sloane works it out in a hurry. Kicked out of there by Wright. Bouncing ball round the members' wing. Henderson leans in. Suckling beats him to it. Henderson wraps up Suckling. Umpire circles and we'll say about.
Kelly Underwood.
Clinton Young missed that whole first quarter huddle because he was down in the rooms getting some treatment. He didn't appear up on the bench until about 20 seconds into the start of this quarter.
7-point lead to the Crows after a surprising first quarter. Jacobs wins the hit, but it comes to Mitchell. Hand pass away to Rioli, who fires the ball down the line. Nearly kicked the leather off that ball and gained about 40 metres. It skims out of bounds at half forward.
For me at the moment, Hawthorn have that one player out or over the top, and they've got a bit of time to be able to release it, and Adelaide need to negate that.
Hawthorn are a kick-marked side, but they're being outmarked 32-21 at the moment. It's in a solid contest here. They go to ground, a dead heat. The umpire will bounce just outside the 50. Hawthorn in attack. Franklin in the first quarter, just 3 possessions. At the other end, what about Tippett? 6 possessions, 5 contested, 5 marks and 2 goals. The bounce, Jacobs wins another hit and comes through the hands of Scott Thompson. Flying in there is Young. Can he gouge the ball out? The whistle's gone and it's going to be an Adelaide free kick, and it goes to the man who wins the toughest balls in football, and that is Patrick Dangerfield. The hard ball gets, he is number 1 in the competition.
Our ABC Footballer of the Year. He kicked it up to halfway. Tippett couldn't get hold of this one. Young picked it up. Van Berlo ran him out of bounds.
Scott Thompson's had an outstanding 2 or 3 years, leading the way with 9 disposals. Rory Sloane also with 9.
At the throw in, Jacobs and Hale have hold of each other. They release just enough to win the tap. Mitchell didn't do much with it. Vince coming through. The Crows win out here up to half forward, but Burgoyne stands his ground in front of Henderson to take the intercepting mark. Burgoyne is looking for a target. They'll have to kick down the line. Rioli's outnumbered here. It'd be a good effort. Oh, Dangerfield got cleaned up by McKay, and they're both down on the turf. That is friendly fire in the worst possible way. Otten stands in the tackle and gets penalised holding the ball.
They need to stop the play.
Yeah, Dangerfield is in a bad way here.
Oh.
McKay jumped up into him, knocked him over. I'm not sure he knows where he is, but he stood up to stand the mark.
He knocked him over and then landed on him.
Oh,
he's all right.
Chest or head, isn't it, too? But he's popped up.
He's fine.
He's hard.
Bruced. He takes off with a bit of a shepherd on Dangerfield. Drives it inside the 50 for the Hawks. Off hands. Rioli lurks out in the pocket. He tries to turn them inside out. Kicks. Well, it went about 2 metres to Franklin. Hand pass to Shields, who's mown down by Petrenko, and out of play it goes. Now Rutten and Franklin are right into each other. Over on the artificial turf, there was some spite in it, and the umpire has felt the need to come in and intervene and pay a free kick to Lance Franklin.
Well, it's going to go the other way first, Jared. Rutten was going to get the free kick, and unfortunately, the Adelaide player came in over the top. It's gone the other way.
Well, that's difficult to imagine how Franklin ends up with a free kick out of that. He put Rutten in a headlock and drove him into the turf. I find that absolutely perplexing that Franklin could possibly have the ball here. From the juncture of 50 in the boundary, he hoists it at goal. It was left all the way. And thank goodness, because that was just frankly wrong. It's a 6-point margin Adelaide's way.
You called it, Chris, too. I thought Shields, he was the one to put Petrenko down. Wasn't it after the tackle? The free was going to go Adelaide's way.
Kick in, marked by Wright. And he comes out wide where it's taken by Dangerfield. He goes bang and puts on the afterburners. Terrific run out of defence. He kicks to half forward. It's to a contest. And Hawthorn man in front will get the free kick. Tom Murphy at half back for the Hawks. They've got a bit of work to do here. Adelaide by 6 points. Murphy squares the ball into Suckling. Inside defensive 50.
Saw Lewis Jetta last night. We wanted to see Dangerfield. Rioli tried to run him down but couldn't catch him.
The kick straight up the corridor, missed the target. Scott Thompson's there. Hand pass to Petrenko, who was dispossessed by Mitchell. But it comes back to Adelaide. Vince kicks to full forward. And here is Walker, who takes the mark about 30 metres out. And he's got Henderson unmarked in the goal square. But Walker, coming off such a terrific game last week, thinks, I think I'll go back and kick it myself.
Well, I'll tell you, Drew, he better kick it. I know he can be confident, and you've got to be able to go back. I know he's only 30 metres out, but Henderson, all he had to do was put it over the top. He must kick this now.
Not far off centre and kicking from about 35 metres. Walker at the city end. He kicks the goal, and the Crows are 5-1 to 2-7.
Well, after a really torrid start to the second quarter, just a terrific goal by Taylor Walker. Really good fight in the middle of the ground. Bernie Vince, quick kick over the top to him. All of a sudden, these blokes don't know they can't win. They haven't got a clue. They've actually came here thinking they may be beaten, but their opposition's just not good enough at the moment. They're not hard enough. They're not using the ball well enough. So listen, why don't we do it? And they are. And they're killing them. 5 goals won to 2-7 at this stage. They're well in front. 12 points or something in front at this stage. 2 goals. And no one's told them that they weren't supposed to win.
Kelly Underwood.
Clinton Young is off again. Long talk with the doctors. The body language isn't good. No visible signs of injury.
Jacobs and Hale. Jacobs gets first touch. Dangerfield had bounced away from him. Scott Thompson overran it. Sewell off the ground, but he got it straight to Jacobs. Wright had a fumble and the Crows lost it. Mitchell didn't let him back in. He gathers and sidesteps and delivers in the Roughhead direction. Roughhead dropped it again. That's twice he spilt the milk. And he can't get clear of Luke Thompson. Dragged off it. Franklin takes it, dribbles a goal. Instinctual stuff. Only got half a look. And it was all Lance Franklin needed. It's a 1-goal ball game again.
Just outstanding, isn't it? It's almost the bigger the stage, the tougher it is. He just stands up every time, and there wasn't much space to come through there. But you go back, they've actually sat Matty Wright on Sam Mitchell to shut him down, and they still haven't been able to do that, and it was too easy for him to come through the middle of the ground and use it on his left foot.
Mitchell's up to 12 possessions. Bruce 10, Lewis 9, and for the Crows, Scott Thompson 10, Sloan 9. Well, fans of both sides now starting to get a bit of voice. It's one in the middle here. Goes Hawthorn's way. Comes to Wright. Gets the hand pass away to Jacobs, who broke from the ruck contest, but his pass is straight to the opposition. Birchall takes the mark. Pokes a short pass. Roughhead marks for a change. Kicks to the bullseye, and Isaac Smith marks. Going past is Birchall. He kicks to Franklin, who can't mark it. Spills to Puopolo, who has a fumble. There's been far too much of that as far as Hawthorn's concerned. He hand passes over his head. It's now about 20 metres from goal. Bruce gets the hand pass away, but it is intercepted by Riley. A thief in the night, Brent Riley.
That was superb. Out to Paul Pleasure, clear of the defensive 50. Needs the right kick here. There's nothing that didn't present too much of a risk. He kicked in the Van Burlo direction, and over the top came Tippett. He's just marked everything so far. Vince is the short option, and he will be used. He's got some terrain to run into. Vince inside the 50, ill-directed, and Gibson gets back to take the uncontested mark.
Kicks across the ground, hasn't hit a target yet. Walker not out of this contest, but Sewell runs onto the bouncing ball. He gathers well and delivers beautifully to Rioli, just behind the wing, southern stand side.
The Bernie Vince kick was just the wrong one, wasn't it? It was too short. He had to go over the back to Sam Jacobs to give him a chance to jump up at it.
Rioli to Lewis, who marks. This is Hawthorn's specialty. Kick mark, string a few together. The kick by Lewis down towards the 50. He's kicked it to a contest, and Puopolo is beaten. The ball comes to the back. The hand pass comes through to Doughty. Doughty gets it back again up to Sloan, who shrugs Rioli's tackle. Mark that down in the history books. He gets the ball out across. Ottens takes the mark near the takes the mark near the logo. In he comes, and that's a poor old kick into attack for Adelaide, and it's marked easily by Roughhead, who needs to get some clean hands on this ball.
Hand pass out to Gibson, clear of the defensive 50 for Birchall. Birchall's got the options on the inside, nothing down the line. So backward he'll go to Schoenmakers. Might set up across the face of goal. Roughhead. No, he stays down the line. It's an awful kick. Callanan should have taken the mark and it slipped through his fingers. It might come off all right. Portleasure's hand pass not taken initially. Van Berlo's under pressure. Callanan with a hand pass. Portleasure has to kick around the corner. And it's a long wait underneath. Sloan gets the crumbs. Off to Otten, up to Douglas. Run down by Young. Gibson comes through. He's wrapped up by Scott Thompson. It's fierce now. The umpire circles and said Gibson didn't fall on it or drag it in. And so no penalty, instead a bounce.
Gee, it's finals football now. 6 points the margin. Adelaide still lead. 5-1 to Hawthorn. 3 goals, 7. So 6 scoring shots against 10. And Adelaide lead. Jacobs with another hit out. He's a freak at it. Comes to Scott Thompson, who misses. The hand pass comes back to Thompson from right. He on to Portleasure, who kicks for goal, but he didn't elevate the kick. And it's marked in defensive goal square by Schoenmakers for Hawthorn, who kicks out towards the defensive 50 to Young. Young over the top to Birchall, giving him some good run. Well done, Grant Birchall. He kicks over the top, and Isaac Smith takes the mark. They are running free here now, the Hawks. Smith balks the hand pass and then kicks long to full forward. Brewster's there to mark right in front.
A massive kick. Covered 65 metres, that drop punt from the wing, and then kick it to the most dangerous spot on the ground, 10 or 15 metres out from goal. Very well done.
Sounds like they're booing, but it's bruised, they give it, the Hawthorn fans. This mark's been taken in front, just 20 metres out. And this to level the scores. At the punt road end. Oh, no. Oh, how could you miss that? A set shot, could have fudged it through, and he's kicked it behind. It's 3-8 to 5-1.
He's had such a big start, hasn't he, Luke Bruised? He's had 2 shots on goal, 1 in this quarter just then and 1 in the first, and missed a couple of Monties.
Henderson on the kick in. He's gone for Walker. It was a fair old roost. Gibson made the spoil. Sewell got hold of it. Back to Gibson inside the 50 to Lewis. So you do get punished if you try the long option and turn it over.
This game's got a lot of space, hasn't it? There seems to be free players all over the place.
Jordan Lewis. He has been a noted goal kicker at time this season. He won't have a go. Instead, he tried to lay off the pass, but he was on the back step as he let it go. It fell in short of Ellis, who was in a tackle and has to be knocked off. He's not made no effort to get rid of that. Just lay on the ball as soon as he was tackled.
That's Hawthorn's bread and butter. Those half-distance passes, they're not hitting targets.
40 from the Hawks goal. Third man up is Lewis. Puopolo was the intended receiver. It never got there. Vince's kick is smothered by Roughhead, and it fell for Rioli to Sewell. He got nothing on the kick, and somehow it fell into the lap of Bruce. He'll get a second crack at it.
Oh, I wonder how he's feeling right this moment. I think he'd be feeling good. This is an opportunity to right the wrong. Get back and put one through the middle, and because he let his teammates down just a minute ago.
41-22 for the year and 2 behinds tonight. He just has to nail this one for the Hawks.
Luke Bruce settles himself where previously he failed from 25 outs. This time he succeeds. And with it, the Hawks assume the lead. 4-8-32 to Adelaide, 5-1-31. And we have gone 14 minutes of the second term.
Well, Adelaide up the other end. Van Berlo went in, missed the kick. Vince went in, missed the kick. And then the Portleasure opportunity too on his left foot. He had a lot more time than he did, and normally very complete with his disposal. And the kick only went about 20 metres and ended up taking a mark just outside of the square. So 3 opportunities going begging. Down the other end, 2 shots on goal that weren't and should have capitalised by Hawthorn, and then the third one they're able to nail.
4 changes in the lead already. A 1-point lead to the Hawks. Tippett in ruck. Comes to Sloan. The hand pass off to Tippett, who fumbles but gets it out in front of himself and then soccers the ball forward towards the 50. Chopped off by Shields for the Hawks. His hand pass sits well for Hale. He gets the hand pass back. Burgoyne gets it back inside the corridor, but it's ill-directed once again. And Tippett takes his umpteenth mark. Gets the hand pass off to Smith. Kick inside the 50 for Adelaide. Sliding in there is Gibson. Well played. Hand pass to Burgoyne, who pokes a half-distance pass in. This is okay to Sewell. Still deep inside defensive 50. Surely they want to get it towards the Great Southern stand side. They've got numbers out there. He kicks it across the ground, and Murphy, who replaced the captain in the selected side with Hodge, unable to take his place. Here's Murphy. Nobody stands the mark, so on the gallop, he kicks short of the wing. Rioli up and under pressure, can't take the mark, but he's going to get the free kick for a spoil off. He centres the ball in beautifully for Mitchell, who takes the mark, has a bounce, weaves and kicks long inside the 50, but it's all Adelaide, and the ball's punched back outside the 50. Hawthorn have to do it again. Lewis thrown to ground. Ball up. It's Puopolo.
He's been a great forward player for the Hawks, hasn't he? He gets a lot of football, but just hasn't provided the return, I guess, for the amount of footy that he's been given.
Half forward for the Hawks. Third man up went Ellis to effect. Down to Sewell, trying to bullock his way clear. He was dispossessed. Doughty squabbles on the turf with him. The ball won't come out. And we'll do the same again. 32 to 31. Hawthorn lead. Plenty around it. Tippett and Hale wrestling with each other ahead of the bounce. Now they lean. Tippett cleanly to the side of the pack, and it falls back into his grasp. He didn't do anything with it. There's a quick whistle there saying it's an Adelaide free kick from the skirmish on the ground. And Scott Thompson will give it off to Sloane, whose free kick it is. So Rory Sloane, who's back at the defensive 50. They're manned up ahead, and Gibson is the loose man as well. So they'll set into a marking contest. Paul Pleasure read it superbly. He marked it out the back. He signals the deep kick and he delivers. Wright should have marked. Douglas the crumb. Might have been taken high. Gives it off to Wright. Petrenko through the pack. He lost it. Oh, and that was a gilt-edged moment that passed for the Crows. Murphy to Suckling. Outside the defensive 50 for Shields. He goes down the line to Sewell, and they might pay the ultimate price. Hawthorn coming hard down the field. Bruce marks out in front, 2 kicks from goal.
Opens up on the forward line. Gunston offers him a lead. He goes longer for Roughhead, who's caught behind. Roughhead works it to the front. Chance for Puopolo. Works it across to Gunston. Hand pass to Rioli. 40 out. Low zooming shot for goal. Here's away to the left-hand side and misses. So Rioli, 2 behinds tonight. Still goalless. And Hawthorn still wasteful. They're 4-9. They lead by 2 points. Adelaide 5-1.
Henderson made the space. He was the kick-in target. Runs to the defensive 50 and kicks for Petrenko. He's playing from behind. He leant into Stratton and got away with it. Off the ground went Callan, and it didn't go far enough. Ellis repels for the Hawks. Up to Burgoyne. Creative hand pass to Birchall, who's through. His delivery, though, is poor into the 50. And Sloane cuts it off in front of Gunston.
We're at the 18-minute mark of the second quarter, and Hawthorn lead 33 to 31. Here's Rory Sloane kicking towards the Great Southern Stand side for Scott Thompson. It pitches in front of him and gets away from him out of bounds. Kell.
Lance Franklin just coming on for the Hawks. He spent about the last 3 or 4 minutes on the bench. A lot of time on the bench so far in this first half.
Hale beats Jacobs. Well, that's something. Comes down to Isaac Smith. He loses it in the tackle. Hand pass comes to Scott Thompson. Birchall loses it. Hand pass now comes to Mitchell. Off he goes to Young on the run. Hand pass into Burgoyne on the run. Gets to 35 and kicks the goal. It's been a while between drinks. The Hawks go to 5-9, leading Adelaide 5-1.
Well, that's the first time they've actually run inside 50, I think, with any confidence at all. And certainly a couple of the Hawthorn players could take a leaf out of Burgoyne's book. He got to half forward, he saw the gap open, and he just took off. He put the afterburners on, then steadied, and as an experienced player should, he needed it. The team needed it. It was just bang, straight through the middle. Starting to get on top now, the Hawthorn team.
He was an exceptional midfielder at Port Adelaide too, now just playing in that role across the back half for Hawthorn, and just has silky, smooth skills.
Hawks play 8. Jacobs tried to get hold of it. Hale brought him down. Further tackles are laid at ground level, and Mitchell went high on Scott Thompson. Crows ball. Scott Thompson up to half forward. Callanan might be the target. It didn't quite reach. Petrenko. Vince pulls it clear of the pack. Doesn't have much space in which to work. He gives it to Douglas. Up to full forward. Walker sets himself. Third man up is Lewis. He makes the effective punch all the way to the boundary. And over the line. Walker played for the body contact with Schoenmakers, and Lewis made sure it was never one-on-one. Crows need one here, down by 8 points. At the throw-in, Jacobs knocks it to the open side of the pack. Vince is waiting for it. His snap at goal is narrow. Walker paddled it back into the field of play. Wright got it to the line. He's got a toe to this.
Wow.
Now the video will be needed. I've just got a sneaking hunch he's kicked this. There were 3 Hawks around Matthew Wright, and it seemed to fall onto his left toe. There's every chance that the video will be quite decisive here. From behind the goals, White gets hold of it, takes it to the goal post. Whose boot does it touch?
Burgoyne's.
No, Burgoyne's knee. So that is a rush behind. The Crows trail by 7 points.
Oh, that's clear.
It's absolutely worked in the manner that it should, hasn't it, too, at that particular time.
And Sean Burgoyne knew. He went and picked up the ball, said, we've got this, don't worry about it.
Yep, good result.
Adelaide need a lift from Petrenko and Cullinan. They're very good defensively, but not doing enough when Adelaide are attacking.
Birchall with the job of kicking in. He goes short. Look out, Dangerfield's in the area. Couldn't quite get there. Mark to Schoenmakers. He's pretty close to the man on the mark and kicks it long towards centre wing. Doughty with a fist of the ball. It comes to a former teammate. And Gunston gathers near the boundary line. Hand passes down the line, but it floats out. Centre wing, Great Southern stand side. Sun's gone, lights taking over, but a magnificent evening at the MCG. What a treat it is to be here. Here's the throw in. Hale in front. Shields gets a touch. They fight hard for the ball at ground level. There's only one result from this. That will be a ball up. 39-32, the Hawks lead by 7 points.
Still plenty of time left in the half. Jacobs and Hale with Lewis to go third man up, and he hit it effectively. Down to Mitchell. The Hawks quickly up to the 50. Bouncing ball. Rutten had a fumble. Bruce going through. Dragged down off to Gunston. Puopolo might have been taken without it by Doughty, and he was. Puopolo's the best part of 60 from goal. He'll give the hand pass to Lewis. He'll set it up to the teeth of goal. Franklin and Rutten. Rutten spoiled by his own man Henderson, who now has to get it through for a behind, and he does. So it's the Hawks by 8 points.
He's just not on the move today, Franklin. He's playing into Rutten's hands.
There's not enough space down there.
Poor Pleasure marks the kick in and gets it across to McKay, who kicks Adelaide up short of half forward. It's still inside the centre square, and here's a Crows free kick from Dangerfield over the shoulder. Got players going past. The Porpoise hoisted high to full forward. Tippett from behind. Puts a spoil on it. Sloane in front. Scott Thompson there, and Schoenmakers tries to trap the ball on the ground. Got to be careful doing that. The umpire will bounce it.
I like what the Hawks are doing. They're pushing one back into that spot. Birchall was in front of him last time. Lewis came over the top of Walker the time before. They're actually trying to help Schoenmakers.
The Crows 40 metres from goal at this bounce. Tippett wins the hit, comes to Sloane. He's bowled over. And again, back in the pack, another ball up. Kelly Underwood.
Casualties are mounting up down here, Drew. Dangerfield's off with blood streaming from his nose, and Burgoyne is getting his ankle restrapped.
Crows trying to manufacture a goal here. Repeated stoppages. Tippett won it down. Kicked out of the pack. Wasn't a bad little effort. And Walker takes the mark on the behind line. It was Vince who fired it out on the blind side of the pack. And it looked for all the world like it was going through. Walker gets his hands to it. And even though he's against the boundary, you fancy that he'll be able to dob this. He'll just set himself up on the one step into play. And Tex Walker again delivers when the Crows need it. The deficit is back to a couple of points. 6-2 to the Hawks, 5-10. 25 gone of this second term.
And he's a colossus. He's second for the quarter. He's a star, and he just continues to put his body in the right spots. Takes a mark when most people assume that it was going to go through for a point. Not him. He went for the ball and marked it. And he's a tower of strength up there. They hang in there. They keep coming. They're still in the hunt. These games aren't easy to win. Top 4 sides aren't easy to beat, and Hawthorn came with the wrong attitude at the start. They thought they're going to bowl over the top of them, and they've certainly got a little bit of a game on their hands.
He's been able to lead up and take that mark too, but he's done something that Gibson won't want, and that would be taking right back onto the fullback line where he's won out, where he took a mark like he did.
Jacobs wins the hit out in the middle. Great use of the body by Scott Thompson. Clears a path before Pleasure, who gathers but is caught in a great tackle by Shields. It spills to Lewis. Hand pass over his head. But Smith for Adelaide. Off to Douglas. And now to centre wing. Petrenko, who's had an absolute stinker. His kick is smothered. And Birchall smothers again and gets it away from him over the boundary line for a throw-in.
That's great one-on-one play. That is great one-on-one team play by Birchall.
40-38, Hawthorn lead. Throw in Jacobs just every time. He is the best hit-out ruckman in the competition, and it's caused a lot of consternation that he's not in the All-Australian team, and he is just dominating here.
Kelly.
Dangerfield's down in the rooms. They can't stop the bleeding from his nose.
At the bounce, Jacobs has put it back into the mill. Mitchell took hold of it. They all took hold of him.
Adelaide have just been doing that one extra handball that you don't. For example, that one there, Douglas just had to get it to his foot. He put Petrenko under pressure because he was facing the other way.
Douglas is with Mitchell for the time being. Hale gets hold of this one. Down to Sewell. Hale has to toil on at ground level. He just won't see daylight from the pack. And while the umpire will try to let them figure it out for themselves, they'll need the assistance of a further bounce. Fans of both persuasions finding voice. The artificial light has full hold. Lewis seemed to get pushed through that pack. Nothing doing from the umpire. Scott Thompson got it delivered inside the 50, and Callanan has taken the mark.
How does the littlest bloke on the ground take a mark like that?
He's amazing, Drew, with his skill. He really is an exceptional player. He's kicked 39 goals to date. He's been a little quiet in the last couple of weeks, but whether it's left foot or right foot, he really is smart. He gets his foot to it at the most inopportune time to bring his teammates into the game. He's a very skillful player.
Ian Callanan with the chance to put the Crows back in front. He's angled out to the right. He'll have to kick it every bit of the 50. Callanan starts right. It's a poor old kick, and it is only just to behind. 1 point the margin Hawthorn's way as we close in on half-time.
Yeah, I think the spread in this game is about 38.5 points or something. Been nothing like that. Short pass in, comes to Burgoyne. He goes square across the half-back line. Schoenmakers marks, gets around Walker and kicks towards centre wing. Roughhead charges at it and takes the mark. He's dropped a couple, but he's come good since then. He delivers it off to Lewis, who marks on the logo centre wing. Open forward line, get rid of it in a hurry. Well, he does, and Young takes the mark. Glorious long kick of the football, but still too far out to score. Franklin leads towards the boundary line. Young kicks an absolute shocker, which charges through the hands of Rutten. He should have plucked that one. Taken by Dangerfield. Hand pass back to Jacobs in the back pocket. Outside the 50 with his kick. Doughty interfered with and will take a free kick.
Rises at the defensive 50. He's going to bring it across the face of goal for Dangerfield. He'll need one more target to be able to complete it. Paul Pleasure with Birchall bearing down. Paul Pleasure gets it near the behind post. Mitchell has come in to shut down right. That was the way out that the Crows were trying to construct. It's going to have to be a long kick down the line. Sloan makes good position against the boundary to take the mark unopposed. Now, against the clock with 35 seconds to play. Can they go from half back to the forward line? They might as it clears the pack, and Callanan gets hold of it against the boundary. Has options inboard, gives the hand pass to Douglas, bounces to half forward, uses it short, and Taylor Walker, with the siren about to sound, has a chance to repeat the deeds of last week.
He loves them on the siren.
The clock is at 7, and he'll surely be aware just to wait for it to peel. He puts the ball on the turf, tucks the mouthguard into the socks. And Taylor Walker, after the half-time siren, from outside the 50 to put the Crows in front. Walker launches the goal. He got all of it. He gets it home. And Tex repeats the deed. The Crows go in at the half as leaders, and Walker kicked all three of their goals in that term. 7-3-45 Adelaide. Hawthorn 5-10-40. So the Crows, with that pep in the step that a goal after the siren gives, the Hawks stay out on the field. And it's Jordan Lewis who is leading the home truths as the favourites are down at the main break. Goal kickers, Walker with 3, Tippett 2, Sloan and Henderson 1 each. For the Hawks, they're all singles: Burgoyne, Young, Bruce, Franklin and Shields. Well, they led at quarter time, the Crows, by 7, and they lead at the half by 5 on Grandstand AFL. Chris Grant, Rod Jamieson, Mark McClure.
Best and fairest a couple of years ago, Richard Douglas too. He didn't have an option if he was going to go long, which is I think where he thought he was going to go initially, and Taylor Walker turned around and just led up, and which has been damaging for Hawthorn because he has been that player that he goes to. If he's deep, they will go to him every time. But 60 out, he is such a dangerous player, and we saw, and you mentioned it, Jared, last week on the siren, he kicked 2 behinds in the first quarter, and it was his first goal. He went on to kick 5 goal 2, didn't miss one after half time, and to have a quarter like he just did then with 3 goals, great return for Adelaide.
Well, it's their efficiency when they actually get it inside 50, isn't it? They're actually making the most of the opportunities they get. They're down in the inside 50s, 19-32, yet here we are with them with a lead at half time. You just couldn't believe that. And really, the first quarter was on the back of Tippett, and the second quarter was on the back of Walker. Just 2 big power key forwards who have just come to play today, and they're causing them all sorts of trouble. I guess the Hawthorn side, they've got to go in and actually realise what they're doing well. They're doing so much right. It is an open game. There's absolutely no doubt about that. It's not your classic traditional September preliminary final. There's a lot of space out there for these two teams to work in. It's just that the Adelaide team are making the most of it.
Yeah, they're doing a lot right, but they're doing a fair bit wrong too. They've got a really full forward line, and you have a look at when they go into the Adelaide forward line, there's so much space. Walker can move up towards the ball as they do, and so does Tippett, and then they can go back and they've got space everywhere. The Hawthorn football line, they all want to kick a goal. Well, forget that. It's not your turn sometimes. Sometimes you just got to make space. I'd get everyone outside 50. Put Buddy in there on his own. See how Rutten goes with that. Try him and Cyril. Only 2 in there. Push the rest up to outside the line. So what you're doing is you're squeezing their defence, their forward lines, and your defence gets fuller. Makes it harder for the opposition. They've got to try some different stuff. They've just all been crowded around like pigeons on the park, they all hang around in one spot. So it's the wrong place to do. And look, I think it's been a really good game. I love the way Adelaide came here with an expectation that they can win. I like that. And most of us sit here and think they couldn't. Well, they can. And they will if they continue to do the things that they're doing. If you have a look at the scores on goal, they're 15 shots to 10. So the contested ball is very similar. The possessions are in Hawthorn's way. The statistics are leading towards Hawthorn, but that doesn't always count towards the scoreboard. No way, no, it does. And I love the way Walker plays. I love what he does. He attracts the ball. You know why? Because he's a monster for a start. And he stands there and he moves forward towards the ball. He brings himself to it, and they kick it to him because they trust him. And that's what I love about tall forwards. They don't do that to Buddy. They're trying to find Buddy, but there's just no one there. Too many people around him to fill up. Interesting afternoon, interesting evenings football. This is a traditional game of football. Top 4 sides usually put up the best games. This is one of them.
Both sides have been inefficient, haven't they, when they've gone forward? They've missed opportunities there. There were probably 5 occasions late from Adelaide's perspective where 2 players ran into each other. We had Paul Pleasure, Petrenko and Douglas. They just fumbled and they weren't able to have a clean shot on goal. What I did love about the last part of that quarter is Jason Paul Pleasure, that deep kick into the pocket. He came along the line. It was Rory Sloane again, composed along the line and over the back, Cullinan, and then you're going forward when you had to be composed, and Richard Douglas was able to do that to give Adelaide the lead at half-time.
Half-time in this preliminary final. The winner goes on to meet the Sydney Swans in next week's grand final. Adelaide 7-3-45, lead Hawthorn 5-10-40.
This was ours to win. This was not only a grand final spot for us, but a premiership for us. And it's Not a certainty that they're going to make next Saturday. They trail by 5 points. The bounce to start the second half, not a very high one. Another hit out for Jacobs, but sharked by Mitchell. Off to Rioli. Here come the Hawks. The pass down to the 50. Oh, Lewis has a chance in the pack to take a mark. Roughhead lays a tackle. It's here for the Hawks in the forward pocket. Bruce has it. Slings out a hand pass to Gunston. Concedes a little bit of ground to Sewell. He gave it to Gunston, who was out of bounds. Umpire, yes. I was close to that ball, and Gunston was. And it'll be a throw in on the 50.
Buy your ticket in the third row and actually get a handball. You're on the scoreboard.
Yeah. Here is that throw in. Hale in front. I'll give him that one. It comes to Sewell. Hand pass back. Ellis, a little kick, no good. Scott Thompson takes the mark, running back on the defensive 50 for the Crows.
Careful with the pass, but not careful enough. He was going for Jacobs. Rioli saw it coming, makes the interception and squares the ball to Isaac Smith at centre half forward. Smith needed to get motoring close to 55, gave it everything to the line, but it was not quite going to get through. And on the line it is pushed over for a rush behind. The margin is the Crows by 4.
And the Crows working it out of defence. Riley has pulled off his kick. It comes Hawthorn's way. Lewis gets the hand pass away. Franklin centres the ball delightfully for Gunston, who marks in front 15 metres from goal.
Yeah, great work by Franklin. He likes to have a ping, but he had a look inside and he did the team thing and pushed it through. Lewis was special tackle there, and so was Bruce as well. Really good defensive work, and we haven't seen a lot of that from the Hawks. Turned around a goal. Well, it should.
Forward pressure and tackles in the forward 50. Crucial. Set up this goal. Should be a goal. Jack Gunston for the Hawks against his old team. Kicks the goal. And Hawthorn regain the lead.
Just another chance for Adelaide. They have used it one too many times at that particular point too. I mean, the Scott Thompson kick into the middle of the ground to find Jacobs missed its target, so poor execution there. Unlucky not to get hurt that way, but just that extra handball, when wanting to hang on to it to be able to use it, you've got to give it first time, and tremendous tackle by Sewell just to push Riley off the footy.
It's amazing what an early goal like that too. Yes, they puts Hawthorn in front, but they needed to settle that nerve. It almost counteracts the Taylor Walker goal after half time.
6th lead change, Hawks by 2 points. Bounce back in the middle, Hale and Jacobs. Jacobs pushes it down to Dangerfield, gets away on the defensive side of the pack. Drops it to the right boot and it floats a little wider than probably he had intended. A couple of Crows call each other off it. And it's left for Van Berlo to gather through Scott Thompson. Now to Henderson. Comes darting inboard. Hand pass to Van Berlo. Needs to get it inside the 50. He does, and Petrenko plays in front. And he takes the mark. Leading out into the left forward pocket.
That was a really good mark. He was a full stretch, flat stick into the ball, and he's not a huge man. Put his hands up there and took it full on. It was a great mark.
Blueprint catch, wasn't it, too? You just weren't, as a defender, you just couldn't get your hand to it.
So Jared Petrenko is looking for a lift. He could very much achieve that with a goal to start the second half. There'll be a step inside the 50. Petrenko with the right foot drop, punts. It's right all the way. And a behind. Hawthorn's lead is 1 point.
You were looking for a lift, and there was the opportunity to be able to get something on the board offensively for Adelaide from a small player. Just a miss that was required to hit it, particularly at this point of the early stages.
Birchall with the kick in. Well outside the 50, looking for Hale. Jacobs is there with him. Jacobs puts the spoil on, but it comes to the front to Hale. Whistle's gone. Free kick to David Hale. He takes it quickly over the top to Puopolo, who marks just behind the wing. Has a bounce. Being closed down by Riley, but Puopolo goes the foot pass. Finds Lewis, 60 from goal. Hawthorn going to the city end in this third quarter. Hawks lead by a point. He kicks down towards the pocket. Punched away by Smith for Adelaide. Comes to Scott Thompson. He gets the hand pass in. The kick smothered. There was a high tackle on right, and he'll take a free kick back inside defensive 50. Surely that's not advantage, umpire.
Oh, that's wrong.
And now there's a throw, and it's going to be a Hawthorn free kick. Boy, Adelaide
They stopped the play. We don't want the advantage. And then when he hand passed it back to the bloke who was going to take it.
They've been dudded. And Franklin has this free kick from outside 50. And fortunately for people who like justice in the world, he's kicked it behind.
The kick in for the Crows is straight up the middle where things had opened up. Scott Thompson takes the mark. He's gone for the kick wide of the play. He needed Henderson to take the mark, and he did. Now inboard, he had Dangerfield. Hasn't seen him. Instead, he's prodded it down the line where Van Berlo takes the mark on the logo. Van Berlo is searching for the next target. Scott Thompson dashes out toward the boundary. Poor Pleasure as well. It was a bit of a muddle in a three-man pack, and nobody, I don't think, got a hand on that as it rolled away and went out of play. Bit untidy to reach right half forward, but a chance for the Crows to reset on the throw-in. Jacobs stands in front of Roughhead. Roughhead pushed Jacobs underneath, but got away with it. Kicks it up beyond halfway. Shields has overrun it. That was Isaac Smith who overran it against the boundary. Gunston with a hand pass to Sewell. He whacks it up to half foot. Oh, Rutten dropped it. And it's left there for Franklin. No one between him and the goal. Two bounces. Hand pass over the top and Bruce slams it home. Oh, Ben Rutten will have nightmares about that. It slipped through his fingers and he never saw it again. The Hawks by 8 points, 7-12 to 7-4.
This is an ominous start for the Hawks. They've come out and they really want to play football. They understand that they've been ordinary in the first half, and it worries me a little bit that Adelaide may have said, well, you know, we've had a really good go. I'm worried about that. I look at it, and then there's sometimes there where they're just not in the right positions. They've been taken to different spots. Their heads go down. Maybe they've just had enough, and I hope that's not the case, because I want to see it a bit more of this contest, because they've been special this game, Adelaide, against the premiership favourites.
Now this crowd, which is biased towards Hawthorn, starting to give voice to the Hawks. And what about them? 2 goals in this quarter, both goal assists by Franklin. Free kick in the middle, taken by Sewell. Buddy goes up in the back of the pack, can't take the mark. It comes to the front. Been a bit of a fumble. Isaac Smith gets a hand pass out. Now it's really tough stuff. They dive in hard for the ball. Here's a free kick to Xavier Ellis, who got in lower and harder and took one high.
Don't get that one either.
He's given the hand pass back, and a shot for goal by Suckling. Sails home. Set play for the Hawks. He knew he could carry the distance, and so did Ellis.
Suckling coming down from the half-back line too. We know how damaging he can be with that left foot. Similar to what Taylor Walker is the other way, 60 metres out. You just cannot allow a player of that capability to have a free run. And Adelaide need to settle. They need to be composed in this particular time. They cannot allow this break to get too far out.
3 goals in 8 minutes. It's Hawthorn by 14. 8-12 to 7-4. It's the biggest lead of the night. Roughhead and Jacobs set themselves. Jacobs knocked it down, but it's taken by Sewell. Hand pass to Mitchell. Forward to the play to Roughhead. He's going to pump the Hawks deep forward again. Hale and Franklin. Hale got through him. Franklin at the back. And there's another. The Hawks are rampant. They play this burst footy. And they're getting away. 20-point leaders in the blink of an eye.
Well, that's 4 goals in under the first 9 minutes of the third quarter. This is why they call it the premiership quarter. They had to hold their nerve, the Hawthorn team. As I said at half-time, Alistair Clarkson would have been imploring them, this is what's happening. These are the things we're doing well. There's still some confidence. Go for it. Keep continuing to be positive. Well, that's the way they've played. It's very difficult to do as a player, to read the stat sheet and think we're doing well when the scoreboard says we're behind. They've kept the faith. 4 goals in under 9 minutes.
Hale wins in the middle in the ruck. It comes to Rioli. Hand pass away to Birchall, screaming through the middle. He kicks long. Franklin outnumbered 2-1. And as a result, Henderson gets back on him and takes the mark. Buddy's kicked a goal, and he's given off goals here in this third quarter to Bruce and Gunston.
Well,
Adelaide working out of defence. McKay kicks towards centre wing, and Tippett is there to take another mark. He started on red hot, on fire. Took 4 marks in the first 8 minutes of the game. Kirk Tippett kicks towards the 50. Oh, and across comes the spoiled king of the competition. Gibson gets a fist of the ball and sees it safely out of bounds.
They've got their tails up, the Hawks, haven't they, too? Adelaide need to get one here, and they need to get one quickly.
Clearances for the quarter, 6-1 inside 50s, 8-1. It has been all Hawthorn since half-time. Hale getting his hand to it a bit more often. Down to Sewell, buried by Sloan. Had to release the footy. Pleasure comes through. Haphazard ball up to the 50s. Stratton makes the spoil for the Hawks. Rioli and Van Bulow at the drop. And it's worked all the way to the boundary. Kelly Underwood.
Franklin's come off for a rest. Warm applause for him. And when the Hawks kicked those last 2 goals, they had their 2 All-Australian midfielders, the Crows, on the bench in Thompson and Dangerfield.
Tippett won the tap, but straight down to Sewell. The Hawks another clearance. A long ball to half forward. Henderson went with the fly and he didn't mark. He's under pressure. He got the hand pass away. Henderson, but it's coming straight back from McKay. Roughhead had a real scent for it, but the Crows will hold up. McKay has a hand pass in there, and Doughty to bring them off half back. They'll breathe a big sigh of relief as Dangerfield takes the mark against the boundary.
Oh, the Hawks' forward pressure there was phenomenal. Dangerfield squares the ball towards centre half back. And the mark's taken by Luke Thompson, who can go for a bounce. He's found himself in the clear, but his hand pass is knocked down by Bruce. Bruce gets after it, regathers, gets it to Birchall, who arches his back, flies a 20-metre hand pass up the ground. Young, here come the Hawks again. The kick inside the 50. Oh, no mark. It comes to the front to Smith. Hand pass over the top to Roughhead. Back to Smith, wide out in the pocket. He concedes some ground to Gunston. Back to Ruffy, who has the shot and misses to the near side. Behind to Roughhead, his second behind for the night. All Hawthorn in this third quarter. They lead 67-46.
Riley, short into Vince. Long now outside the defensive area. Wright made the space.
That poor handball again, Jared, in the middle of the ground by Adelaide. That extra one they didn't need.
Wright sideways to McKay. Sideways back inside the defensive 50 for Vince. He can find the way out to Otten. Must find a target forward of the middle. He's got a couple leading up at him. Oh, they got in each other's way. Douglas does get hold of it. Hand pass to Van Bulow, but his kick is smothered. Mitchell and Burgoyne and Gunston and Mitchell and Gunston again through the middle. He's got space. He hooks it out wide for Rioli. And Rioli will just take a breather.
Oh, their smothering has been just boxing up the Crows in this quarter. It's 4 goals, 3-1 behind
just queuing
in this
up
quarter.
Out here.
Yep. Any amount of Hawks could take this mark on the wing. Birchall takes it, gets the hand pass to Suckling. His little short pass inboard comes to Burgoyne. He goes back behind the man on the mark. Burgoyne approaches. He gets a good shepherd from Gibson. Burgoyne kicks to full forward. Roughhead pushed out. Well, he dived for the free kick, and the ball's been punched to the boundary line. Throw in forward pocket.
Margin is 21 points. Hawks pushing again from the stoppage. Roughhead front position, put it down underfoot. Dangerfield with a hand pass. McKay, the hot potato, off to Henderson. Scott Thompson was tremendous through the traffic. He pulls his kick for Pleasure, who takes the mark with Stratton bearing down. But it's all just to clear the defensive area. Kick in the Tippett direction. He marks and plays on. He gives it to Walker, who ran shotgun. Bounces his way to half forward. Lost direction. Hand passed over his head. Tippett goes in hard. Bowls over Young. Pulls the footy clear. Van Bulow turns. He must goal. He does goal. The steady foot of the skipper, Nathan Van Bulow, built on the work, the bustle, the desire of Tippett and Walker, who would not be halted. They're down by 15, 8-4 to 9-13.
And don't forget, poor Pleasure, who took a ripping mark on half-back for a start. And then the big talls got to work. And you don't expect them to run, and Tippett did. And then there's Walker, who ran and tried to run away from the competition. Made a stupid mistake, handball over his head, but you know what? Gets back into the game. Tippett picked it up when he's back up, and away he went again. That was just a terrific play against the runner play, really against the runner play. They were smashed the first 4 or 5 goals of the quarter, and then all of a sudden, bang, they're back in the game.
Tippett's had a fantastic night. The Crows' first goal in this quarter took 14 minutes coming. They win in the middle, and Dangerfield gets his hand pass back, but the pressure from Hawthorn takes the ball away inside the 50. There might have been a push, or it's an Adelaide free kick. Just as the Hawthorn fans were thinking, it's us right in front of goal. The replay might indicate it was as well. Henderson out of defence. Wright takes the mark in between halfback and wing.
Great kick.
Back into the corridor. Doughty caught behind. Mitchell gets after it. Has a front-on collision. He's been doing that all his life. The crumbs come Hawthorn's way. Young's run down from behind and caught holding the ball. Terrific tackle by McKay inside the centre square. Certainly not out of it. Margin 15 points. Kicked by McKay to full forward. Tippett's been marking everything. Not this time. It comes off hands. It bounces his way. He's got it. Oh, he threw it out. Umpire Walker has it. He snaps a goal.
That's a 50-metre penalty.
It's a free kick Hawthorn's way.
Your call was right. It was a throw.
They're lucky, Jared, weren't they? They've actually played on after the free was clearly given to the Hawks.
It should have been 50 because
Gibson out to Birchall and around the wing now for Gunston as the Hawks mount again. Franklin's on the long lead. Rutten made the spoil, but he doesn't have support, and coming through is Birchall to knock it up to Franklin. He breaks 2 tackles, gives it back to Birchall. Up inside the 50 of the kick. Hale got his hands to it, couldn't pull it in. Rioli lurks, trying to break clear. Back to Hale, feeds it further back to Sewell. He'll go sideways looking for Burgoyne. Douglas makes the spoil, pulls it in. Jacobs is having a fumble, pats it on to Dangerfield. Now to Scott Thompson, over to Vince, dumped in a tackle. It falls the way of Gunston, and he snaps it through for a goal. And the pressure will out again. No breathing space for the Crows in there, and finally the Hawks pried it loose. 21-point leaders at the 17-minute mark of the third.
I'm a massive fan of Sean Burgoyne too. Just his ability to be able to keep the footy in the area and give it to a teammate. Adelaide looked like as if they were going to get away. Jacobs went to ground. He couldn't get the handball up, and what a tremendous tackle to be able to keep the football in the forward 50 from Hawthorn.
That's happened 4 or 5 times. That's where they have all their goals this quarter.
Burgoyne to the bench. Kel.
Sub's been made. Rod Jamieson predicted this. Petrenko subbed out. John Cockey's on.
Palm down in the middle. It comes to Sewell of the Hawks. The kick out wide. Puopolo at half forward flank. He overruns the ball. Tapped up the ground by Smith of Adelaide. Sliding in Shields for the Hawks. This has been the best quarter. This is fantastic what's going on here in the third. And this is going to be a ball up. Half forward for Hawthorn. Their tackling has been just ferocious. They lead 47-34 in tackles. They've smothered everything in this quarter, and they've kicked 5 goals to 1 for the term.
They'll try to attack again, but it won't come to anything on this occasion. Dangerfield got it from the stoppage. Comes the way of Wright. Forward to the plate of Douglas. Gives it sideways now to Scott Thompson. He needs a target. Tippett is that. Playing from behind. Schoenmaker's knocked it down. Tippett got hold of it though. He gives it to Vince. Runs through the 50. Got off balance and tried the check-sided goal. And it rolls into the arms of Gibson, who's goalkeeping. And he sends it straight back out. Shields the target. Oh, terrific round with Callanan bearing down. To pay the top of the arms or the mark. I think Shields took the mark.
Well, I reckon he did too.
He's called to play on. He's got some pressure coming at him. He uses it short for Rioli.
How did he play on there?
I reckon last night's umps are going to get the grand final for what it's worth.
Here Rioli from half-back. They've turned it over though. Scott Thompson goes back to Sloan. His hand pass out wide. Doesn't hit a target. Right. Fumbles it over the boundary line, and we get a throw in right near the interchange gate. So Rioli sprints off, and Jordan Lewis comes back on for the Hawks. 73-52. 19 played third quarter. Jacobs gets another hit out, but straight back out of bounds.
That's a free kick.
And that is another throw in. Isn't that a free kick?
Yes.
Well, it can be.
Yeah.
Well, was that one?
I reckon it was.
I reckon it was.
You dragged it out,
we
though,
seem
didn't
to
you?
be in dispute with these umpires, I reckon. Roughhead puts it underfoot, and Mitchell pulls it clear, and it's a great creative hand pass for Roughhead, who kept going outside of the pack. He puts it lace out to Franklin, stepped off his line, has to give it to Mitchell, who just keeps on going and squares the footy rather than blaze away for Bruce.
He's been outstanding, hasn't he, today? He's one player Adelaide haven't been able to shut down, and there's another example of what Hawthorn have been able to do for the majority of the game. The handball goes down, that damaging one forward, and Roughhead, who's been able to be that free man just to settle down, finish off the kick to Franklin, had a number of options to go to.
Luke Bruce has 2 to his name already. From 46 metres out, he nurses it into the left-hand post. And the lead is 22 points as we hit time on to the third term.
The inaccuracy, particularly early, could still be a factor in this game. Adelaide work it out of defence. McKay takes the mark. Cross to Henderson. A hand pass at the feet of Doughty. He's under pressure. Adelaide still have it. Worked up the ground by Henderson, almost to the wing. But Smith is there for Hawthorn. Comes to Puopolo, Suckling, close to the boundary line and over. Southern stand side, and we get a throw in. Magnificent night for football. We are getting a crackerjack preliminary final. Here's the throw in. Roughhead wins, bursting through Port Pleasure for Adelaide to shark it. They've lost it though. Suckling on all fours, slings out a hand pass. Taken by Thompson, Scott of Adelaide. The hand pass to Doughty. A high ball to half forward. Hawthorn with the numbers. It gets to the back. Chance for Callanan, who shrugs a tackle, the little fella. Does well, centres the ball, and Tippett marks. Beautiful play by Callanan.
What about the space in the forward line again? More space. Once you get the forwards in front, you cannot stop it. Doesn't matter who you are, Sholomakers or whatever. That was just beautiful stuff.
6 disposal for Ian Callanan, and that's what I was talking about earlier today. He just has got a really calm manner about him. Left kick out in front. Kurt Tippett, lace out.
Hawks by 22, but Tippett can make it 16 if he kicks his third. He'll kick from about 35 metres. Punt road end. Kicks the goal. What a game. Hawks 10-14 and Adelaide 9-4.
Well, for all their dominance in the third quarter, can you believe that they're 16 points down on the scoreboard? And I tell you, with only 5, maybe 6 minutes to go in the third quarter, we're in that time on period. There's a real opportunity for the Adelaide Football Club to just plant a seed of doubt in the Hawthorn team. They've done so much right in this third quarter, the Hawthorn team. They would like to be more than 3 goals up on the scoreboard. At the moment, they're not.
2 weeks ago, Sydney led them all the way to the end of the game. Fremantle led them at half-time. Adelaide came out and had a tremendous second half to get over the top.
So it puts a bounty on the next goal. 16 points is the margin. Jacobs tried, but Roughhead succeeded. He punched it 20 metres further afield, and Rioli gets onto it. He doubles back, doesn't go the kick, gives the hand pass to Isaac Smith, who gives some ground with a hand pass for Stratton. Measures off the short kick sideways, and Shields has it. Hugs the boundary up to Young.
Gee, Rioli had confidence in his hamstrings there. That's a good sign.
Young will wheel in onto the left boot. Send it to full forward. Roughhead and Rutten wrestle. There are plenty of fists. It's a Rutten free kick against Franklin on that occasion. So Rutten at full back. The Crows attempt the spread. Hand pass to Riley. No distinct target to go to. He kicked into the pocket. Franklin bowled over Riley, so it would have been downfield regardless. Brodie Smith has marked. Pulls it back inboard for Otten. Doughty is just getting loose, so he can get it 20 further afield. Still inside the arc. Sam Jacobs leads up to halfback. So that's all precisely done. The next kick is critical. Port Pleasure makes the play at right halfback. Now they look for some run. Hand pass to Brodie Smith. Back inboard to Port Pleasure. That was to reach the wing. Now the kick in the Tippett direction. It's terrific work coming back with a flight by Thomas Murphy, who put himself in harm's way.
Very much protected by Sholomakers too. That was the best part about it. Good mark.
Murphy, a replacement for Hodge in the selected side. That's the best thing he's done tonight. That was beautiful. All the way back to the defensive goal square and worked out by Stratton towards the boundary line, southern stand side. Suckling. Short pass to Isaac Smith, just outside the 50. 24.5 played third quarter. 16-point lead to Hawthorn. Game definitely still up for grabs. Smith almost cornered by John Cock. And then he kicks it a mile in the air, which he's done a few times tonight. That's a poor old kick. And he's turned it over the mark to Luke Thompson of the Crows.
You're all manned up ahead. John Cock on a searching lead. And finds a couple of steps and is able to take the mark. Jacobs will head up. That's where John Cock goes. Gee, set the ruckman a task. He was able to gather around the laces and flick it off. He gets it back from Smith. Hand pass now to Scott Thompson. They're corralled. Backward to Jacobs, who has to go again with a kick inside the 50. They need a grab. 5-man pack. No mark forthcoming. Sewell to Mitchell. What a hand pass through the traffic to Lewis, who kicks around the southern wing to Puopolo. Young is forward of the play. He receives the hand pass onto the left boot. Franklin one-on-one. Runs beating cold. Stood his ground in front and intercepts.
The truck stood tall. Goes with the hand pass away to Riley, who kicks over half back to Scott Thompson, who marks just inside the boundary line. 74 plays 58. Hawthorn lead by 16 points. Thompson squares it in, and the mark's taken by Vince. Further afield to Rutten. He missed the target. Look out, here comes Rioli. He's got the speed against Rutten. Rioli gathers. Beautiful. He runs in and kicks the goal. Crows' mistakes in the defensive 50 have thrilled them in this quarter. Hawks go to 11-14 to 9-4.
I tell you what, don't kick it near him. He's like greased lightning. He's unbelievable. He chases people down, and then all of a sudden you make one little blue, and you see how fast his legs go. He just went past him. He gave him windburn, didn't he? Rutten was just unbelievable. Then ran around him and ringed him, and then just went past him. And Rutten gave up. He said, "I can't catch him. I can't touch him." Oh, he's special to watch.
That was a truck against a Maserati.
He'd already saved them, Rutten. I mean, she'd be dirty about that.
Oh, I think Bernie Vince too. Just a poor kick, wasn't it? Just a lazy, leant back and missed the target by plenty.
Hawks by 22. Crows free kick in the middle, go in the way of Dangerfield. Needs a target deep, gives it all he's got in the Tippett direction, sets himself, brings it to ground. Walker, he topples over, works the hand pass to Douglas, who fumbles. Suckling paddles it wide of the pack. Sewell gets hold of it, defensive 50. Tried to be clever, hand pass down the line, kicked it off the tube. Gains 50 metres. The umpire says throw it in at the interchange gates.
He and Mitchell have been special in this quarter. Their takeaways from boundary throw-ins and ball ups have been very strong. Sewell and Mitchell have been the real drivers.
Sewell 24 possessions, Mitchell 21. Scott Thompson's had 26 for the Crows. We're approaching the 28-minute mark of the third quarter. It's been a lot of fun. Jacobs wins another hit out in ruck. Ball bunted up the ground by Shields. Chopped off by McKay, who works it in. And the kick by Sloan towards the 50. Chance for Walker. But in front, Schoenmakers gets it across to Suckling, who gives it up. And Luke Thompson takes the mark near the logo centre wing. 80 to 58, a 22-point lead to the Hawks. Thompson goes back to Rutten. Be very, very careful. There he is. He goes across the ground, finds Henderson. They found some space out on the Great Southern stand side. It comes to Smith. Sweeps the hand pass into Otten, who pokes a short pass, and Wright marks 50 metres from goal. Could Matthew Wright make the distance? He goes back with a hand pass, and the shot comes in from outside the 50 and carries the journey. What a kick that was by Smith. Brodie Smith from outside 50 with a fantastic goal. Just his 5th of the season, and it keeps the Crows alive. They trail by 16.
Gee, they defended poorly then, Hawthorn. I think it's three-quarter time. I think the siren had gone already. It'd be filthy, Alistair Clarkson. They didn't set up properly. They allowed the free man out. He ran past a couple of our players, right, to actually get on the footy to start with. And all of a sudden, the Crows just get that all-important goal. There's only probably seconds to go in the third quarter. He'd be absolutely ropeable if you're Alistair Clarkson.
Brodie Smith's been great all year. He's played majority of the games too. He carries the football in a deep penetrating kick.
Clarko might reopen the hole in the wall. Jacobs puts it underfoot, shovelled forward though by Hale, and off the ground went Sewell, half forward for the Hawks. Brewster's onto it, slips a tackle, drops it up inside the 50, kept away from Franklin by Rutten, who has Henderson to assist him. Hand pass across the face of goal to Doughty. On now to Otten. Careful with the kick for Jacobs. Not 15 is the call. Has to, from the standing start, kick it high around the southern wing. And that is three-quarter time. The Hawks kicked 6 goals in that term to the Crows 3. They've come from 5 points down at the interval to lead by 16 at the final change. Hawthorn 11-14-80 to Adelaide 10-4-64. Goal kickers for the Hawks, 2 each to Gunston, Bruce and Franklin, with singles to Suckling, Burgoyne, Young, Shields and Rioli. For the Crows, 3 each to Tippett and Walker, with singles to Van Berlo, Sloane, Smith and Henderson. Final change in the preliminary final. Hawthorn with the advantage by 16 points. This is Grandstand AFL on ABC Local Radio, News Radio and Grandstand Digital.
The Hawks have activated their subs, so Shane Savage is on the ground and Paul Puopolo is walking towards the bench in the red vest, and Drew the Maserati, aka Rioli, had a pit stop in that break. He got the hammies worked on, the calves worked on, and he's ready to get back into gear.
You think if we keep mentioning it, Kel, they might send us one during the week?
I'll get the oil for you, okay? I'll get an oil change.
I wouldn't mind a couple of hammies that he's got either, I have to say.
Well, Sewell's had 25 possessions. Mitchell and Rioli and Bruce have 21 each. And for Adelaide, Scott Thompson 26, a mile clear of Port Pleasure 19, and 17s for Dangerfield and Sloane. Gerard Whateley now on Grandstand. Last quarter underway.
Hawks by 16. Can they finish the deed? At the bounce, the ruckman share it, comes the way of Dangerfield and he breaks clear. Hand pass to Scott Thompson, floats it wide of the pack, so the momentum lost for just a moment, but Vince is onto the bouncing ball. He kicks wide inside the 50 and Port Pleasure marks. Now, a player of such exquisite skill when it comes to goal kicking, it is difficult, but it is within his grasp. Outside the boundary and 50 out from goal. Port Pleasure doesn't trust himself. Instead he went for Walker and it got away from him and went out of bounds.
In these big games, you just, every opportunity, isn't it, too? We've seen a couple of times tonight where they've had the opportunity, both sides, to have a shot on goal. When they should have, they've tried something different. It hasn't come off.
Right forward pocket for the Crows. Port Pleasure gets it back. Douglas is dispossessed. Kicked out of there by Birchall, but it's gone up and down virtually on the spot. Hale knocked it down, gathered himself, then gave it up. Dangerfield breaks clear, running to the boundary, takes the shot across the face all the way and out of bounds on the full.
Gee, strong, isn't he, Dangerfield? The way he shrugged that tackle with an arm chop. Wow. Oh,
that is unbelievable.
Short pass in is no good for the Hawks. It's taken by Walker. A hand pass to Port Pleasure, who pings from about 25 and he hits the post. But it's all Adelaide at the start of this last quarter. This game is far from done.
He's had 2 chances, Port Pleasure. Nothing to show for his efforts. Hawks out of fullback. Birchall touched it onto his own boot, kicked it as far as he could. Hale didn't mark, comes under the pack. Roughhead, hand pass to Mitchell, gets around one, was going to get run down from behind, so he went the hand pass to Franklin, who's at half-back. Back for Mitchell, they're in tackles, he's taken down by Henderson, still managed to get it to Franklin, now to Rioli, they're working in a triangle which was ever constricting. Bounced forward to the play by Mitchell. Bruce, slide of hand, it was a throw. It was.
Come on,
how bad's that?
I actually wanted to see that carry on, actually.
Short pass goes to Dangerfield on the wing. He darts away. He's not too sure where to go here. He floats a hand pass over the top to Scott Thompson. He's closed down by Sewell, who comes from behind him and wins the contest. Worked across to Hale. Now Birchall. Beautiful little toe poke pass.
Space.
Here's Lewis to mark. Hand pass away. Burgoyne on the run. Kicks from 52. And a poor old kick. And it bounces through for a behind. Missing to the right-hand side. Gee, back Burgoyne every time. 11-15 to 10 goals 5.
McKay on the kick in, goes out into the pocket for Otten, but it's coming back. Riley in the opposite pocket. So McKay has guided them both ways. Riley's got to find the way out. Oh, it's a terrible kick. Lewis got in front of Rutten. Rutten buried him into the turf. It had to be a Jordan Lewis free kick. And so it is. That was disastrous on the way out, though. Hand pass to Franklin from 52. He's swinging at a goal. It threatens. It was left the whole way. It threatened, but it never quite straightened enough. 17 points the Hawthorn lead.
He's kicked that 65 metres.
Across his body. 2 goal 4 for Franklin tonight.
Yes, and he's set up a couple. Tippett in the middle of the pack, can't take the mark. Franklin's got another chance on the 50. First effort, second effort, goes to the floor. No whistle on the play. Play on, Shields dives in, works it to Sewell. Hand pass back to Schoenmakers, who kicks to full forward. But the mark in the last line has been taken by Otten for the Crows. Oh, he runs away and is caught from behind. Gee, Gunston nearly had him cold. Oh, now he's a kick out of bounds on the full.
It's got to be downfield, doesn't it, against Franklin?
Franklin bowled over the Adelaide player, Dangerfield.
Actually, I thought that was in the action. There was nothing wrong with that.
It is downfield, and the free kick is to Tippett, outside defensive 50.
He kicked it straight out of bounds. How could it be up there?
Gee, this game isn't done and dusted by any stretch. Hawks lead by 17.
Tippett long around the wing. Jacobs was in the pack, but he didn't get hold of it. Suckling, clever tap into Murphy. Kicks for Burgoyne. In front of Otten, he was dragged out. So Burgoyne the free kick. Centre wing. Sewell found some space up at half forward. And he'll play on. He'll kick to the open side for Bruce. Too close on him. McKay makes the spoil, but it's all about what happens at the fall. Savage paddles to the boundary. Walker's in fierce pursuit. Savage gets it over. And 65 out from a Hawthorn goal. It will be thrown in.
Well played, David McKay. He had to get there and get his fist to it. Taylor Walker too, shutting down Savage.
Hawks by 17 at the throw-in. Van Berlo to McKay. He's in the tackle of Isaac Smith. He gets out and he feeds it to Dangerfield, who runs off half-back. Kick in the John Cock direction. A bit too high for him. Spoil put on. Gibson tidies up. Hand pass to Birchall. High to half-forward. Crows have numbers. Oh, Riley was met front on by Isaac Smith. You can't get away with that.
Riley comes up limping.
That was just a straight front-on charge. Didn't have his eyes on the ball at all. That could be actually looked at.
He delivers a good pass inside the centre square where Dangerfield takes the mark and goes for a gallop. Has a couple of bounces. Kicks long inside the 50. Chance for the Crows. Tippett. Another mark. Well, he's come out of the doldrums tonight here, Kurt Tippett. And just everything in the air. He's hauled in 11 marks.
And Dangerfield's having a say too, isn't he? He's really stepped up in this first 5 minutes.
He drags him along when he does, and he really does get him going too. He's just trying to take him on. He's probably carried the footy too far on 1 or 2 occasions, which applied the pressure to himself to rid of it. But well done, Henderson, to allow Tippett the free mark.
He's kicking for goal from about 40 metres, just a bit more. City end. He has kicked the goal. He's got 4, and the Crows are alive and kicking at the MCG.
Now's that margin too. It's 11 points. They couldn't break that 3 goals in that third quarter. It blew out, but then it actually come back, and they weren't able to get over the top of it. But you're right, Chris. Dangerfield actually came to the bench, and now just looking down, he's run back onto the ground, getting back into the middle of the ground. He's having a big influence on the game in this last quarter.
Danger period for the Hawks. Been here before, done this before. 7 goals for their tall forwards. Big effort.
Kelly Underwood.
He's absolutely exhausted, Dangerfield, sucking in the oxygen, came to the bench. Kurt Tippett came off after kicking the goal, and they told Dangerfield, get back out there in the forward line.
Hawks by 11, 7 minutes into the final term. Jacobs went early. Hale won the tap down to Lewis, who was down by Scott Thompson. Oh, a free kick. Really? Lewis rises with a hand pass to Mitchell. He fires it onto the chest of Franklin. As dubious as the free kick was, the kick was exquisite from Mitchell.
It's about his 33rd tonight, I reckon. He's been fantastic. Absolutely brilliant, Mitchell.
Well, I was about to call, what a great tackle by Scott Thompson. What a ripper. And how do you give a free kick against that?
He's been so good in the last couple of years. He gave away a lot of frees, and he is composed. I thought he tackled and rolled well.
Lance Franklin with 2 goals for. The Hawks are going to be required to provide the answers in this final term. From 45, he shanked it hopelessly and kicked it out of bounds on the full. Is it a glimpse into the mindset of the Hawks, who do tend to just get a little bit tight in these moments?
Yeah, remember any recent Geelong game. The kick in is short for the Crows. Well delivered. Doughty takes the mark. He goes short to McKay, who marks. They haven't advanced the ball very far. They've hung on to it. McKay gets it outside the 50. Who's that for? No mark. Comes to Suckling, who has a bit of a fumble. And now here come the Crows as the kick up the ground by Callanan and diving in to take the mark. Well done, Vince. Centre wing. 82-71, an 11-point lead to the Hawks. Vince, off he goes to the skipper Van Berlo. He kicks long to full forward. Dangerfield's got to do everything. No mark though. Comes to the front to Callanan. Hand pass to Dangerfield, who snaps. Oh, so close. He kicked up behind. And it's 10 points the margin. 9 minutes played last quarter.
Burgoyne has the kick in.
How good was Nathan Van Berlo then, just to being able to get to the contest, win the football, get to the next contest and deliver it into the forward 50.
Well, nobody else had the gas to go with him. Long kick in. Hawks had all their tools up at it. They didn't pull down the mark. So it's about what happens underneath. Shields, gave it away and caught napping was Hale. Should have been holding the ball. Scott Thompson worked it backwards. Off the ground went Ellis. This is good yardage from Ellis. He toes it on again. Doughty gets there to stop the progress. He did dive on it and he was pushed in the back. So Doughty has it at half back. He was called to play on. Hand pass to Riley. The kick for Rutten only just got there. Rutten had to reach out to get it. He feeds the hand pass over the top to McKay. Mitchell confronts him. Sideways they go for Otten. Otten probes to half forward. It's a good looking kick for Van Berlo. Now the runner of which team was in the way? Hawthorn's runner in the way, so why we needed to blow that I'm not sure. Van Berlo took the mark. Sloan, fingertip it, couldn't hang on. Gets the crumb, snaps a goal. He's dragged it across the face. And that moment passes for Rory Sloan. It's Hawthorn by 9.
The kick in is good and Murphy takes the mark. Teams met only once during the home and away season and Hawthorn beat the Crows by 56 points at the MCG. And here is a terrific mark hauled in by Isaac Smith. It's the sub, Savage. Back towards half-back for the Hawks. Crows led by 7 at quarter time, 5 at half time, but the Hawks led by 16 at three-quarter time. The kick towards half forward. Hale taken down front on, gets the free kick. Too far out at 75 metres from goal. He's got Franklin outside him. Hale goes more direct towards the goal square. A pack gathers, rough head up. Can't take the mark in front, poor Pleasure. Just scrambles a kick outside the 50. Here comes Franklin. Beats one, gets the hand pass away. Young from the boundary line to the top of the square. Well delivered, juggled by Bruce, no mark. But he comes around and snaps, and it's saved right on the line. That is phenomenal football by Luke Thompson.
His kick coming out is okay as well. It just had to float up over the top for Douglas to get hold of. Oh, it's frenetic stuff. We haven't even reached the halfway mark of the term. Outside the defensive 50 for Sloan. Carefully up the line for Paul Pleasure. Rutten wants it. Half back. He'll get it. So nearly everybody ahead of him. Looking for a target. He sits it up high. Going back and trying to get hold of it was Brodie Smith. He does, but he's dispossessed. Stratton to Mitchell. Wobbly old ball, but it'll find Young, and the Hawks are on the break going forward. Up to Shields, onto the right boot. Poor kick to Franklin, but he makes it okay. He gets back off Rutten and arrives in the drop zone. And he can have this shot that he put out of bounds on the full a few minutes ago again.
It's the only time this evening that Franklin in a one-on-one contest, a genuine one-on-one contest, has been able to beat Rutten with the flight of the ball. He's read it perfectly tonight, Rutten.
Franklin will be 35 metres from goal. He's angled to the left. His team needs him. Lance Franklin runs left, delivers a goal. It got away. A helicopter that he's missed to the right. so he can't settle the Hawks again. They lead by 10, and we've gone 13 minutes of the final two.
Franklin, 2 goals, 5 and 1 out of bounds. The kick in the direction of Scott Thompson. Can't mark under pressure. It comes to Savage. A little kick goes 1 metre. Taken by Young. He kicks to full forward. Sloan is there for Adelaide. He might be first there, but Ellis gets back and sees the ball to the boundary line. And we have a throw in. 13 and a half minutes played. The crowd posted at 69,146. And there's plenty of South Australians here. I can promise you that. And they are finding voices. The Crows are putting it to Hawthorn here. Will the top team bow out and not make the grand final? Ball close to the boundary line. Doughty gets after it. And it's over. And another throw in.
Only got themselves to blame if that occurs, Drew. A million shots at goal. Missed all of them. Or most of them.
Only 1 goal so far in a tight and tense final term. At the throw-in, Jacobs feeds it down to Dangerfield outside the defensive 50. Walker's an extraordinary pick-up off his laces on the half volley. Feeds it forward to the play with a kick. Murphy's kept away from it, and it opens the way for Paul Pleasure. Running hard was right for him. It'll get out in front of right. Murphy stayed with him. It's probably not a bad result to get it out of bounds. 45 away from the Crows' goal.
I think it was that pick up too. For such a big bloke, and really, he's had an enormous year. He missed a number of games through suspension, has come back in a big impact.
50 from the Adelaide goal. Tippett won it down to Wright, who was in a 2-man tackle. He decided to take it. The umpire will knock him off for it, I reckon. It's holding the ball. The Hawks get it in defence.
The Hawks are goalless in this last quarter, and we've been playing 15 minutes. Mind you, Adelaide have only kicked 1 goal themselves, 1-3. Low scoring, but a real scrap for a position in the grand final against the Swans. Centre wing, Smith for Adelaide, paddles the ball along, runs out of room, gained about 25 metres though. It's out of play down towards about half forward. Kelly Underwood.
Drew, as you mentioned, 69,000 in tonight. Such tension at ground level. Supporters of both teams just riding every kick, every handball. The Hawks a 15-day break, an 8-day break for the Crows.
Rough head down to Lewis and a perfect pass. And Gunston takes the mark. Behind the wing, Southern stand side. Hawks going towards the punt road end in the last quarter. Gunston not sure where to go. He's looking backwards and sideways. Now he advances the ball to Rioli. It's not a bad choice. Rioli marks. Sticky fingers. Little left foot pass on the bounce to Lewis. He gathers, hand pass back, and the ball's fly hacked out of mid-air. It comes up towards the 50. Ellis centres the ball, and Young is there in the pocket, but his good ball was put on him, and the ball goes out of bounds off Douglas, and a throw in alongside the behind post.
The Hawks push for the stadium. They lead by 10. Roughhead to compete against Jacobs. Roughhead nimbly got himself to the front. Young is trying, but he won't succeed. It's ushered through for the conceded score. 11 points. It's tight. So the Crows on the restart. Vince kicks it to Doubt.
Hawthorn are forcing him down the line. They've been going through the middle, and when they have gone through the middle, the turnovers occurred, and it's just gone straight back over their head, and the pressure is just still there.
Doughty to Vince. Now probe on the other side now for Rutten. It's been difficult to get out of the last line from time to time. Rutten should be able to find Sloan, although Lewis arrives to make the spoil. Lewis and Sloan, they wrestle each other. Sloan pulled it clear in the tackle, released it. Great tackle, Schoenmakers on Douglas, who was threatening to get away and go. And then the third man in, Ellis, has given away a high free kick. So Douglas rises with it and doing all the good work of Schoenmakers. Douglas up to Walker, defensive side of the middle. Thought about the short pass. Goes a little longer instead. Callanan is trundling one way, Suckling the other. It bounced away from Suckling. Isaac Smith is downed. Ball loose for a moment. Onto it is Brodie Smith. Works the hand pass to Scott Thompson. Thompson onto the left boot, inside the 50. Poor Pleasure. Oh, he's nearly killed Hale as he's clotheslined him on the way out. And there's a reversal, is there?
I don't believe it.
Poor Pleasure has been felled by Schoenmakers, and the Porpoise gets the free kick. David Hale, he was decapitated in the contest.
I can't believe that.
The first free kick was certainly his. And then it's what happened in the aftermath. Oh, yeah, Schoenmakers just came through and bumped him flush in the back.
Yeah, so what? That shouldn't happen, Jared. That's wrong.
Jason Porplesia, amidst the controversy, has the shot at goal. He's directly in front. Through centre half forward. Porplesia from 48. It's good. It's tense now. The Crows are within a kick. 12-7-79. Hawthorn 11-18-84. We have gone 19 minutes of the final two.
Well, even in general play, it's the Adelaide Crows. And who can believe Kelly Underwood brought up a really good point. Can you believe Hawthorn are the one with the 15-day break? The one that have got the team that have got the run in the legs, it's Adelaide. It is all Adelaide at the moment. What a horrible evening it has been for Schoenmakers. He hasn't been good down back to start with. Now he puts the Crows within a goal.
The contest wasn't shrewd, but Hale hitting the ground was. Schoenmakers did not need to do what he did.
Jacobs wins the bounce in the middle. Dangerfield gets a hand of the ball and wins a free kick. Oh no, he's given away the free kick. Shields for Hawthorn takes it. Goes by hand to Mitchell, who bursts through the centre. Kicks long to full forward. Ball punched out of defence for the Crows. It sits still in a dangerous position. Taken by Savage, who wheels around with a big U-turn. Short pass. Terrific spoil out of defence. That came from Henderson, but it's still in a dangerous position. Dangerfield hand pass back. Riley out of defence for the Crows. Well, Wright can't take the mark, but he worked his opponent off the ball, and it falls away at Wright, who has a bounce, gets up towards centre wing, into Douglas, short pass to Johncock, the sub, fresh, he goes for goal from 40, and Adelaide have hit the front.
Well, we have seen this before. This is deja vu. This happened last year, same game. Pies got them in the last quarter, 30 points up. It's not over yet. There's still 10 minutes to go in the quarter, 5 minutes to go in the quarter, 5 minutes 23 to be exact. Can they redeem, or are they just going to fall over again? Well, best side in the competition just ain't the best side at the moment.
What about the smother from Henderson too, or the spoil, just being able to get his hand to it when the kick was on, and Xavier Ellis looks like he's come to the bench with cramp.
Yeah, Kelly Underwood.
Yeah, he's cramped up badly. He's on the bench. David Hale's been down in the room, so they're down a couple on the bench at the moment. Hale looks like he's sitting on the bench. The Crows bench went up as if they won the grand final a minute ago.
Adelaide leads the preliminary final, but for how long? Burgoyne got it clean out of the middle, kicked a full forward. Rioli! He was behind. He sidestepped his way to the front. And Cyril has it 15 out from goal.
He hit the ground, Jared, and he's cramping as well. They are out on their feet, the Hawks.
He's only got to nudge this over the line. Cyril Rioli kicks the goal that returns Hawthorn to the lead. And the Crows in real time led for about 8 seconds, as long as it took Burgoyne to whisk it away and kick it to Cyril.
Just too easy in the end for Hawthorn to be able to, in the balance, absolutely in the balance, and to Hawthorn clear it in the manner that they had. Luke Thompson had to just get to the contest, lost his feet completely. Easy mark to Cyril Rioli.
There have been 8 changes of the lead, and Hawthorn's goal there was their first of this last quarter, and it took 22 minutes. The Hawks 12-18, the Crows 13 goals 7. 30 scoring shots to 20 for a 5-point lead. Bounce in the middle. Jacobs wins another hit out. Douglas robes and bursts out of the centre and kicks from about 55. Oh, it's nearly marked on the behind line by Porplesia, but it's gone through for a minor score to the Crows. Well, Burgoyne burst out one way, and the next bounce, Douglas burst out the other way. Boy, what a game.
Clarkson's had enough. He's coming down to the bench. He can't bear it. 4 points the margin. Virgil into the back pocket. Young marks and plays on. She ran a long way to the defensive 50. Boots it around the wing. Gunston is wrestling with Orton. It clears the pair. Riley a good pick up, but he was just nudged and edged out of play by Gunston. Oh no, Alistair Clarkson's just had a breather at the back of the box and he returns to his seat. And in him lives the team right now. They are as tense as can be. Their lead is 4 points. 4 1/4 minutes to play. The Crows trying to get it from the stoppage. Van Burlo winkles out. Kick Callanan, ever so clever. Kick up to full forward. Dangerfield comes out, gathered the half volley, trying to settle. Stratton dragged him down. Goal-saving stuff. Suckling against Sloane. Suckling gets his kick away. High ball around the wing. Still to be won. Punched down by Luke Thompson, but it's cut off for the Hawke's Bay Shields. Up now to Bruce. Does the 360, drops it to the right boot. He wanted Rioli, worked his man under it. Lewis gets there. Rioli's still going. He runs through the 50. Hand pass over the top. It's for Franklin now. He opens up and kicks the goal. The Hawks have answered the test of nerve. Franklin's third. The lead returns to 10 points. The Crows have got to do it all over again.
It's a stand-in skipper. I know that Franklin got under the end of that. What a clutch goal it was too. Hodge out of the team. Jordan Lewis is the stand-in skipper. He was the one who actually tapped it out. He won't get a stat for it. The Hawthorn faithful will love him for it. He got a hand in, put it into Rioli's path, and that's when they ended up getting the free flow of play. He was out on his feet. He couldn't run. And he just dived forward and got the ball out. Great skipper's work.
How good was the Stratton tackle?
Approaching the 25-minute mark. Hit out by Jacobs, have bunted forward for the Hawks. Comes to Savage. He's ridden into the ground. The crumbs to Mitchell. He penetrates the 50. Oh! Rioli. Magic. Under all sorts of pressure. He was wearing his opponent like a second skin, and somehow he held on to it. He is struggling big time. He's cramping up, grimacing. If he can kick the goal, surely this gets the Hawks into the grand final. But how well will they go in? They're a day shorter than Sydney, who played last night. You'd think they should have been fresher here, having the week off. But they've been under the pump severely. Rioli from 35. He missed. He gave it a hook and missed to the right-hand side. Still gives the Crows a chance. 2 kicks in it. 11 points.
2.5 minutes for the Crows to come up with 2 goals. Riley's on the kick-in. He finds a target and McKay marked and he burst clear. So nothing scientific, just long and strong, and the Hawks have numbers. Gibson gets there to intercept. The
How
kick
fitting
gave
is
Tippett
that,
no
Jared?
chance.
How fitting is that? That's the sort of season he's had. He's done that all year.
Gibson kicks out to the southern side for Shields. He'll chip it over the top to Isaac Smith. Right half forward. Time is Hawthorn's ally. Isaac Smith pumps it to full forward. Hale positions himself. Jacobs makes the spoil. Rutten is at the drop. Hand passes it away to right. Kicks in a hurry. Tippett couldn't quite hang on this occasion. Fed out of there by Isaac Smith to Young and backward to Gunston. Wide ball up to the 50. It'll be intercepted by Wright of the Crows.
Running out of time, Adelaide. They've got to do it quickly. Oh, dangerous kick to centre half back. But Douglas, beautiful. He spins out of trouble and kicks out towards centre wing. Scott Thompson gathers the bouncing ball. He's cornered by Sewell. He draws Sewell. Puts the hand pass out. Vince forward of the wing. Back to Thompson. Look out. But he marks. They've got to be very quick here. Don't use up too much time. 27.5 minutes played. And the margin is 11 in favour of the Hawks. Oh, Thompson kicks it backwards horribly. Not sure what's going on there. To Vince, who now advances the ball. And now Riley has it. He squares the ball up. It's a bit slow, this. Van Burlo kicks the centre half forward for Tippett. They were right. I was wrong. Tippett has it right in front.
Walker.
45. Walker.
And the clock's still going too. 38 seconds. He needs to nail it and give him enough time to go back into the middle.
The runner's straight out there, Jamo. He's going straight out to near him, just letting the Adelaide players know how long to go.
Walker from in front, 50 out. He's kicked 3. He's kicked 4 to give them a chance. If they win the centre bounce, they can get another goal.
Yeah, well played, Walker. He's pretty good at this. He's done it 3 or 4 times now in the final series. He kicked one before half-time in Adelaide, kicked one before half-time here, right on the bell here. There's still 16 seconds only to go in the game.
They have the best ruckman in the game.
Competition, yeah.
Who has to knock it to advantage. They've got the 2 key forwards who have given them a chance all night. If there's a team who can do it, it's the Crows.
Buddy Franklin is the only Hawthorn player forward of wing for Hawthorn. Everyone is being pushed back.
And he shouldn't be there either.
It almost
seriously shouldn't be there.
It just almost has to be the midfielder trying to run to half forward and unload. The preliminary final comes down to the last 16 seconds. Hawthorn leads. Hale does enough in the middle and Burgoyne gets it. He kicks for space and the seconds should tick away. Suckling racing out toward it deliberately for the boundary. Deliberate. But it's too far from home with only seconds left. The kicks for Jacobs. The grand final is for Hawthorn. Oh, how they were tested. They were headed. They stared down that same tag as chokers, but they have prevailed. Hawthorn to face the Sydney Swans in the grand final, and Adelaide have to settle for being gallant. 13-19-97 the Hawks. Adelaide 14-8-92. What theatre and drama at the end. Johncock put the Crows in front. Rioli immediately got on the end of a Burgoyne ball. They came up with a couple, and still at the end the Crows were snapping at them. It wasn't to be. Was Adelaide by 7 at quarter time, by 5 at the half. The Hawks by 16 at 3/4 time and by 5 at the ends.
Look at these Crows. They're just absolutely shattered all around the ground, slumped to the turf.
That is preliminary final weekend in a nutshell. Hawthorn by 5 points over the Adelaide Crows. The Adelaide players are only now sort of peeling themselves up off the turf to shake hands at the end of it all. 69,146 entertained to the very last second.
It's the only game in the world where you can kick less goals than your opponents and win the game.
The goal kickers for the winners. 3 for Franklin, 2 for Gunston, Bruce and Rioli, with singles for Suckling, Burgoyne, Young and Shields. For Adelaide, 4 each to Tippett and Walker, with singles for Van Berlo, Sloane, Johncock, Smith, Porpleasure and Henderson. And the Hawks fans who might have held their breath for the last 30 minutes are now full of song. Mark McCoy.
Yeah, and then the grand final. So all that happened in the last 2.5 hours means absolutely naught right now. Whether they were a bit tight, whether they were whatever, it doesn't matter. They've made the grand final. Congratulations. They were the best team in the competition to this stage. Now they face the Sydney Swans. You know, they go in bursts. They play in bursts. They don't play a whole 100 minutes at times. They chip it around. I thought they're fumbly. They miss goals. They had a whole lot of things they need to work on this week to settle themselves down to play a grand final in 7 days' time. And they got some work to do. It took Rioli and Franklin to get them over the line. 2 goals in the last quarter versus 4. Adelaide out-pumped them in the last quarter. It was exciting. It was a joy to watch, and it was great to watch Adelaide come back into the game. They got things to do. They got dangerous forwards. They got really dangerous forwards, and they've got very, very good players in the midfield in Sewell, in Mitchell and Lewis, who really set the pattern for the afternoon or the night. They are a terrific football team, and now they're in the grand final. And I think the last grand final was 208. That's, 5 years ago? 5 or 6 or 4 years ago? 4 years ago, 208. Now, the counting's not too good.
Too hard for you?
A little bit difficult. Anyway, but that's the way it is, and good luck to them. But Adelaide, they're the story, I reckon. Adelaide was superb. Came here, weren't even thought about that they could win. They didn't know that. They didn't understand that. No one told them. I thought they were sensational. I really liked the way they did. Walker, Tippett, they kicked 8 goals between them, those two in forward. Porpoise was pretty good too, Paul Pleasure. He was really good. Their midfielder, Thompson, Bernie Vince, McKay, Van Berlo. Dangerfield was outstanding when he had to come up. They've got some future, these blokes. Come here and play here on the MCG. They hardly play here at all. This was a big night for them, and they'll learn a hell of a lot out of it. Very good contest, but Hawthorn have prevailed.
How interesting.
Only just.
Yeah, Hawthorn gathered together and have headed down. The Crows still out on the ground. And such was the despondency felt at losing in such circumstances, and Brenton Sanderson out with them. I'm sure he'd be full of admiration, but they're still on the wrong end of it.
Yeah, he's applauding his players as they go off. Great effort. And there was a nice moment between the coaches, Brenton Sanderson and Alistair Clarkson, a warm embrace as they met. And there's Michael Doughty leaving the field for the last time with a wave to the fans. What heartbreak to finish your career that way.
Wow. What a preliminary final. Hawthorn by 5 over the Crows. Into the Hawks' rooms, Kelly Underwood.
And it's the acting skipper, Jordan Lewis, that leads them in. They're not getting too carried away, just taking their time down here. Brent Guerra giving them an encouraging clap or two as they pass him. And, gee, what a week he's in for, Brent Guerra. The cameras are going to watch him, his every move over the next 6 days or so. No sign of Luke Hodge. He was a late withdrawal. Alistair Clarkson with a big smile on his face. And he is so relieved. He's actually going to link arms here and join the players. A rarity, but the coach will stand right behind him. Alistair Clarkson going over a big hug for Sean Burgoyne. Hugs all round for Tom Murphy. They look absolutely exhausted, Jared. They're out on their feet. We've put in a request to speak to Sam Mitchell. Let's hope any minute we can have a chat to him.
Oh, we better get parking from the from the dinner.
Can I just reflect on a moment, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of input from you guys. Ben Stratton's tackle. I mean, they were 4 points up. They'd actually hit the front, hadn't they? And all of a sudden, Dangerfield reels around. He turns him the wrong way to start with. No one thought, and he wouldn't have thought, that he was going to turn to his left side. He did. He turned to his left side, and he just ran him down. It was the game. Right there and then was the game, because twice then, straight after that, they went back and actually kicked 2 goals, the Hawthorn. I mean, you talk about moments in finals and big games by superstar players. Well, that will never be forgotten by the Hawthorn faithful.
Dangerfield was sizzling, wasn't he?
Oh, when he's had in the end 16 contested possessions and 9 clearances, 28 disposals, and in that second half, particularly that last quarter, Drew, he just tried to lift and drag the team along and take a bounce, and he tried to push away 11 disposals in that last quarter, and he just couldn't break it. And we called it at the time. It was an enormous tackle. Cyril Rioli, I think it was at the end, that was on the end of it to be able to kick a goal for the Hawks.
Rioli had 3 big moments from the time they got behind. The Burgoyne break out of the middle was clean, but Rioli still had to mark it, and he was coming from a position behind him, and he's on the far side to set up Franklin, and then he missed the sealer, having taken another splendid mark. So in the 3 minutes where it was all running against Hawthorn, Rioli was just a tremendously calming influence for them.
And his legs, the hammies, are just a constant problem for Cyril Rioli.
You talk about height, isn't it? I guess as the game goes on, the height, you cannot It's great to have the height, but if you've got the pace of Rioli, Gerard, you are just so phone from.
Okay, our news radio audience will depart during this interview, but we'll start it regardless. Hawthorn 13-19-97 over the Adelaide Crows 14-8-92. Sam Mitchell is with Kelly Underwood.
And he has been good enough to give us a few minutes of his time. Sam, you've just survived one major, almighty scare. How relieved are you right now?
Yeah, don't have too long to be relieved. Got to move on pretty quick, but certainly we made it hard for ourselves, didn't we? But we didn't believe all the stuff that people said before the game was going to be, shortest price favourites and all that stuff. We knew it was going to be like that and fought out all the way to the end, and very happy to get over the line in the end. You're right, it was meant to be so one-sided, and yet it turned into such a classic. Could you sense the tension out there in those final few minutes? Yeah, certainly could. We knew they got in front, and then Shawnee Burgoyne came in and did a couple of really good things for us, really important, and Cyril up forward, finish off the work. We missed a lot of shots on goal, probably made it a little bit hard for ourselves, but hopefully we'll be able to straighten that up next week. Case of deja vu. Did last year flash into your mind at all in those final few minutes? No, I didn't even think about it actually. After the game I thought 5 points. I think that's what happened last year, so we're on the right side of the ledger, and it's all that really matters. I don't think anyone remembers too much about what happens except for in the big dance next week. I'll throw you upstairs to Mark McClure, Chris Grant and Rod Jamieson.
Sam, Chris Grant here. Well, you're into another one. It must be a fantastic feeling, and you do go in after a massive preliminary final, but look at the things you've done right. 34 to 22 scoring shots and 64 to 38 inside 50s. There's a lot you did right tonight. Yeah, there was. We probably let them transition the ball a little bit too easily, so there's going to be some things to look at during the week. Clarko loves his game review and his tapes, so I'm sure we'll be spending plenty of hours watching game tapes this week and finding out what the Swans want to do to us and what we can do to them to try and restrict them. So we're expecting a big week in front of the video. And now just recovery. I'm sure after a game like that, you just recover, and get ready for the big one. Oh yeah, absolutely. We've had a big month or so, as everyone has this time of year. You don't get this far without playing some tough games of footy, and tonight was no different.
Sam, Rod Jamieson, well done. Congratulations for next week. Having that week off is advantageous, but Xavier Ellis and Sirioli, you really looked as if you were out on your feet with a couple of players really struggling with cramp. I didn't notice that they were cramping, but I don't think they'd be the only one. It was a pretty hard running game. It was a little bit back and forth, not too many stoppages early in the game, and as I said, they transitioned the ball a bit too easily, which meant we had to chase a lot. So we need to slow down opposition ball movement, otherwise we are going to be out on our feet. It's something to look forward to next week. If we can restrict that, I think we restrict them to 30-something inside 50s, which is a good result. But the way they got them was probably a little bit too easy when they did. I thought you were able to capitalise, though. They tried to come through the middle of the ground, particularly in your forward half, and you were able to really put the score back on the board and go straight back over the head with the turnovers. Yeah, we had a lot of midfield turnovers early in the game that we couldn't capitalise, but as the game went on, we probably made the most of our chances a little bit more often, but still, I think we kicked 13-19. You're not going to win a lot of games of footy kicking that many behind, so we need to fix that up. Sammy, you've had mixed results against Sydney. They flogged you down in Tasmania, and then all of a sudden you had a great win up in Sydney. So this should be some shootout here next week. Yeah, well, I don't think it'll be a shootout scoring-wise. I'd imagine it'll be a pretty tight tussle. Both sides quite good at contested possession and stoppages and that sort of game. They've got some really strong-bodied midfielders, and I think we do in that area as well. And I think it's going to be a great game of footy, as every grand final is, but I don't think you're going to see a blowout either way. I'm sure it's going to be a tight, hard tussle, and it'll come right down to the last quarter. Did you watch them last night, and were you impressed? Yeah, I watched the first half. They went to bed. I'm sure I'll watch the rest of the tape at some stage, but they were very, very good, particularly early in the game. Really made the most of their chances. They were able to get out the back and kick some easy goals, which always helps. And they play some really good footy. Got some real stars in their side as well. And the midfield tussle will be huge. Yeah, certainly will. I thought Mumford was great last night, and O'Keefe did a really good job. Shut down and then able to get the footy himself. And Joey Kennedy, can't say enough about the way his season's gone. So plenty of work for us to do this week. Adelaide were in front. The footy goes into their forward 50. Dangerfield takes on Ben Stratton, and what an absolute tackle to turn the footy over to go your way. Yeah, I think Stratto probably doesn't get the plaudits he deserves externally. Certainly internally, we rate him really, really highly. Missed a lot of footy last year, and this year he's been everyone talks about Gibbo and the golden fist and all that, but I think Stratto is right up there with opposition
being able to cut off opposition marks and kicks inside 50, and he's played a really, really good game tonight, and that tackle just probably personifies a lot of the stuff he's been able to do for us this year.
What do you reckon Gibbo will win the Golden Fist here?
Is there an award Golden Fist, is there?
There is one, actually, on Fox.
I just noticed that we call him that and hang a bit of, you know what on him.
I thought he had a gold chain around his neck.
Now, the extra week gives Brent Guerra a chance?
Well, I just saw him in the change rooms when I went in there, and I said, "You're going to get yourself up?" And he said yes, but obviously he would say that this time of week. He's given himself every chance, and I'll go as far as saying he's either going to do his hammy on the track this week or he'll play. That's his attitude, I think, so we'll see how we go later in the week, and don't want to be in the coach's shoes making that call.
I'm surprised he's not doing shuttle runs in front of Alistair Clarkson right now.
He probably will be coming Wednesday or Thursday.
And where's Hodgie?
I've got no idea. I think he had a sniffly nose, so he wanted a week off. I cannot wait to tell him about it too.
Terrific, Sam. We'll see you for the grand final.
Thanks, guys.
Sam Mitchell with us in the Hawthorn rooms. The Hawks by 5 points over the Adelaide Crows, 13-19 to 14-8.
I mean, there's two players that come to mind in the competition that the game slows down around them. It's like the movie The Matrix, isn't it? Where they get bullet fired at them and they are able to just slow time down around them. Scott Pendlebury for Collingwood and Sam Mitchell. His ability in tight traffic to set up his teammates and put them in better positions. It is literally like the game just goes in slow motion and they've got all the time in the world.
I thought Sean Burgoyne's game tonight was actually pretty good too. Again, I love the way that he is so composed in the back line, uses the football very well. He missed a shot on goal when he was running, but that clearance out of the centre was just vitally important at that last particular point in the last quarter too. But Birchall off the half-back line, another great game. They can just free them up. And Clinton Young, those types, they've done it all year and done it so well to be able to carry the lines and drop it deep into their 50.
It's the sort of game that's likely to elicit an emotional response. It sort of feels like we should throw the lines open and brace ourselves.
You know, there are people in other parts of the world who get excited about soccer and baseball and all that. Is there a better game in the world than Australian football? Honestly.
1300 222 774. 1300 222 774 to join us on Grandstand AFL in the aftermath of the Hawks' 5-point win over the Adelaide Crows. We'll talk a lot about the winners, I'm sure, but a little bit of time on the losers. And you took a call in the pre-match, Jamo, about would they progress next year. And to see them play like that is to come away with the answer is they are on the up.
Oh, I agree, Jared. I think in terms of the platform now that they've actually provided for themselves, the experience that they've gained, the players involved that have now into their 4th and their 5th season to play on a stage under this pressure. Look, towards the end of the season, I guess it was expected of them to finish off the season well. And they got rolled up in Brisbane, and it was a really disappointing game for Adelaide. They had to finish off in the last 2 games. They did do it very well. Sydney came along, touched them up at a game that they've been playing all year. Then Fremantle blew them away in the first half. They responded and got themselves back in front to put them on a stage like this tonight. Again, they were down, but they just kept coming. And just the things now, they've got to try and retain Kurt Tippett. His return tonight was exceptional. Straight into the game, 4-goal return, 4-goal one, and he was right in the mix first up. Have to mention Michael Dowdy, 231 games, an absolutely outstanding career to get to this particular point. And he puts his hand up. When Neil Craig came along, he was off the track. He was off the rails and he really had to pull his head in. And he puts his hand up and said, if it wasn't for Neil Craig, I would have been long gone 5 or 6 years ago out of the system. And he's been able to really stick his head down, put his bum in the air, and he's been a real key factor in regards to where, I guess, Adelaide and developing and growing on the experience that he's gained over that time to be able to share those with the guys now that'll just sit back and say, I'm so glad I was a part of that once the whole euphoria or the disappointment has settled down.
And getting rid of the bikes, getting on the boxing gloves has made a difference?
There's no doubt, Drew. There's absolutely no doubt. And if that's the case, they put one in, I'd be putting 3 boxing rings in there next year to really just continue on from where they have left off. It's Rory Sloane, outstanding. You know, David McKay got better as the game went on. Patrick Dangerfield again, just really carrying. Bernie Vince just getting. Matty Wright has developed unbelievably. Andy Otten hasn't played much. Jason Paul-Pleasure, they really didn't have him last year. Hawthorn and did his shoulder and missed the entire year, so he's almost been a recruit for him this year. Ian Cullinan will learn from the experience. He's been good, but on the big games, he really has struggled, and I think you'll find he did that again tonight. He had one or two glimpses of we know what he's capable. Brodie Smith, halfback, outstanding again tonight, and look, there's a couple of players that are sitting back that have had injury and missed out in recent time. Daniel Talia has had an exceptional season and rewarded accordingly, and Sam Shaw, another one in defence. So they've really been hurt in that area, and to be able to stand up with the forward structure that Hawthorn had to get within 5 points, I think it's a big tick for the season for Brenton Sanderson.
So for all the South Australians who made the trip across the border, by gee, the trip was worth it, wasn't it? They'll go home disappointed, but gee, they'd go home proud of their team.
I think it's one of those ones. I think you touched on it early, Mark. You know, if Adelaide actually got to that point, you'd almost go big tick. But Adelaide didn't put themselves or didn't view it that way. They really wanted to get through. It was a big tick, but that'd be bitterly disappointing.
Okay, we'll take your calls shortly, but Sam Jacobs is with Kelly Underwood in the Crows rooms.
Sam, so brave, so gutsy, so close. Can you put that one into words for us?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just obviously, like the boys said, it's very disappointing, and at the moment, sort of a bit of an empty feeling because probably hasn't sunk in yet, and realise more in the next couple of days how much it does hurt.
Has the coach had a chance to get you in as a group and have a chat? And if so, what were his key words to you?
Yeah, he obviously we just had a quick chat. Everyone was pretty emotional, so he just said he's proud of us, but we got to look to next year, and how disappointing it is. We got to use that as motivation for going forward. So enjoy your break now, take in the year, but we got unfinished business.
When you heard that final siren, talk us through what's the overwhelming feeling when you heard that siren go?
I guess for me, it probably, is that actually it sort of thing? Because, it's like I said before, it's a bit of a surreal feeling, like we're so close, and, it's a prelim, and, we're a kick away from a grand final, so, it's just, empty.
Always some questions for Sam Jacobs.
Yes, Sam, Roger Jamison, commiserations. Can I ask Michael Dougherty, you've waited for him, he walked off the ground, what he's been and meant to this club?
Dogger, you can't underestimate how much of an effect he's had on the boys. The club's got 4 300-game players, and they're touted as the champions. But Dogger's impact on the group's amazing, and his ability to develop blokes, to take their game to another level has been amazing this year. So he's definitely not underestimated.
Just the belief in the playing group. You were down against Fremantle. You had a big second half. You got back into it. You found yourself down again, I guess, late in the game, but you continue just to fight back.
Yes. Sorry, mate, I just missed that.
You continued to fight back. You had a really big second half. When all odds were against you, you just, I guess, overcome the 3 or 4 goal margin to get back in it and give yourselves every chance.
Yeah, throughout the year, we've had we've had wins where we've come from behind and we haven't been in a great position, but we've been able to find a way. And no one gave us a chance in this final series, but within the group we had great belief, and to come back against Freo was a good effort, and to hold on today, but unfortunately we didn't get there.
Sammy, you should be proud of yourself. I thought they were fantastic, the whole team. You got so much youth coming through: Thompson, Henderson, Smith, Wright. You got Sloan. You got all those young kids in there involved in that side. You got some future coming up, son.
Yeah, cheers, Mark. First of all, the young guys in our team are leaders. Sloan and Dangerfield are in our leadership group, and there's a lot of blokes around that 24 to 25 range that are really important to the team. So we've hopefully got an exciting future, but we know talent doesn't get you wins, and we have to do the hard work ahead of us.
Can you believe you got so close? Seriously, I thought you came here. Can you actually believe it when you got out there in the last quarter? You were 16 points down, and you got to the lead.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like, it's been a massive year for us, and to come from, I think we were 14th last year has been huge, and no one really gave us a chance, but within we believed, and it is. It probably hasn't sunk in yet, and I'll probably find out. Next
be proud.
So,
be proud of yourselves because you did a good job. Hold your head high because that was something special.
Yeah, definitely, and Sando said go away, have a good break, and enjoy the year we've had, because there's been a lot of improvement from pretty much everyone.
Kurt Tippett was absolutely sensational right from the word go. I think he took 4 marks in the first 8 minutes. What a game he played, coming back from some disappointing form.
Yeah, no, you're right. I think he had 4 contested marks or something like that in probably the first 10 minutes. So, his preparation's amazing, Tipper, and he's up with Dan Taylor, who's the most professional bloke in the club. So, if he keeps doing what he's doing, he showed today that he's able to play well in a big game, and his value to the team's huge.
And you're absolutely sure he'll be there next year?
Oh, as a teammate, I hope, and I haven't got any indication that he will be otherwise. He plays, he gives everything for the team, and that I can only judge him on face value.
Sam, your year was special too. Absolutely sensational year. The best ruckman in the competition. Unfortunately, some blokes didn't notice that.
Yeah, but unfortunately, they were the All-Australian selectors.
That's the way it goes, and the All-Australian team's probably something. It's a recognition, and the amount of support I've had from everyone. Even though it doesn't replace it, it's been really nice, and it's been a great year, and I guess it's time for a bit of reflection.
But if you'd got that gong, that's bargaining power for the next contract.
I'll wait and see what Tupou does as well.
Sam, good on you, and tremendous effort tonight. Thanks a lot.
Thanks heaps, boys. Cheers.
Sam Jacobs with us in the Crows rooms. It was the Hawks by 5 points over the Crows in the preliminary final. We're about to take your calls to mix in with our thoughts as we wind all of this up. In fact, we can do that now. Josh, where's that, Drew?
Well up.
How you going?
Hey, Josh.
Good, thanks, guys. Just wanted to say I'm a diehard Crow supporter here in Western Australia, and I'm very proud of my boys. They played the best game that I've seen them play, I reckon, for the season. Unfortunately, they didn't get all the way, but yeah, well done to them. Everyone wrote them off, 10 goals. Everyone was saying 10-goal haul for the match for Hawthorn, and we just knocked them and kept going, and stayed with them.
Yep. Are you a South Australian living in WA?
Damn straight I am.
Good on you, Josh. You'll be speaking for plenty with the Crows close to their heart tonight. So Roger's in Padbury. Hello, Roger.
G'day, guys. How you going?
Good.
I'll just say what a great game it was today. Just I suppose, wanted to get your opinion on how you saw the umpiring today. I mean, I'm not a sore loser, but just a few inconsistencies compared to the season. Didn't play when the ball was pinned into a player on the bottom of a pack. They've been playing holding the ball all year. They never played it all game virtually, except they pinned a Adelaide bloke in the last quarter, and some incorrect disposals. I mean, they let it go nearly all game, and then they decided to ping one out of blue thin air. I mean, I don't know. What do you guys think about how the umpires performed today?
I don't think they'll get the grand final, but that's not my choice. I thought they made a couple of blues. I thought the Paul Pleasure goal, that he got a free kick after, that he KO'd almost Hale. It was absolutely atrocious to do. So there was a bit of good and bad both ways. I don't think it was any bias at all. It's just the way the cookie crumbles. So, Roger, I don't think I'd be too upset about the umpires. They've gone back to Mars today. They've had their day out here, and they'll come back next Saturday at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and we'll go through it all again. It's not their fault.
See, finals games are hard to umpire. When they're
no, they're not. Let them go.
Oh, okay. So Hale gets his head taken off. Play on.
Yeah.
Except that one.
No, that's probably right.
Good on you, Roger. Sue is in Frankston South. Sue, fire away.
Yes, we're just on our way home after having spent a wonderful evening in a box as the only Crows supporter and having watched so many disappointed, smug, crestfallen, despairing, almost suicidal Hawthorn supporters through the game. I thought they were really lucky to get away with it, and I think they're going to be gone for all money next week.
Well, the last comment, it becomes an interesting one, as Hawthorn were fitted up to be overwhelming favourites next week. Even when Sydney had made the grand final, they were still huge odds in the grand scheme of things. And there will surely be a levelling up, in opinion. I mean, Hawthorn will run favourites, but not to the extent that people thought it was just a formality that they'll bowl up and win.
Well, they got beaten down in Tasmania quite comfortably after they led by 4 goals at half-time or quarter-time, and they just won up in Sydney. So how in the hell could they be raging favourites? Sydney are in good form, and they play exactly the same way every week. I'm not so certain Hawthorn do.
Play the style of game that can put the Hawks or anybody off their game.
You go to round 5, and Sydney